Okay, I think it's, is it hello, people of Defend the House, and welcome back to another Review Roundup podcast. Correct?
Let me double check. See, the last time you didn't know how to start.
Oh, it's the Big Roundup podcast. Damn it!
The Big Roundup podcast.
What did I say? The Review Roundup? Well, I think I nailed it.
Yeah, sure. I'll only find out in a week when I edit this.
I mean, it's hard to remember. These are infrequent.
Yeah, the last one went up in June, but it went up June 30th, and that was reviewing games from February.
Yeah, that one took a while.
Yeah, understandably so. This one, when you're listening to it, people of Defend the House, as they say, it'll be December, which is not bad. Not bad.
No.
Not a bad turnaround.
Well, when did Ragnarok come out officially? November 9th?
November 9th, yeah.
Oh, I got it, damn.
Not bad at all.
A month for us is pretty good.
Yeah. And it also... Oh, I just realized I didn't update some of the description. Anyways, sorry. There's a watch next :title/link in the description for the episode 13. No. Oh my god, what shambles. Weird to have a year where we did a review roundup for February games, and then 9 months, and then we did one in December.
Yeah. Wow, that's 2022, isn't it?
Yeah, strange. And this one is probably just going to be 2 games, because there's nothing to say about, well, there's no other games, right? It's
I was going to say, what are you going to list?
And then it's the Callisto Protocol, and hopefully that's good and worth talking about. And then that was the year. See you next year.
Yeah, well, we'll get more into that specific line of discussion for
Indeed.
our top 10 of 2022, which is not too far away at this point.
Yeah, I know, that's scary.
But let's just get into it, dude. God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah.
I kind of wish I re-listened to our God of War 2018 talk. I should have done my homework, but I did not, because I'm good at YouTubing. But I remember... when it came out, I wasn't the biggest fan of 2018. I feel like saying that makes it sound like I disliked it, but I just mean it in a very literal sense, where it was highly revered, people adored God of War 2018, and I just liked it. I thought it was good.
Well,
I had a good time.
I think you did make it like your second game, highest, like second favorite game of that year, I think? Something like
2? I don't know.
Yeah. I have to go and look, but...
Yeah, I really should have rewatched it. But anyway, the reason I'm bringing it up is because, I don't know, just giving a bit of back lore to my God of War, I don't know, how much I revere 2018, because it matters, I think, going to a sequel, how much you care about the previous game. I feel like I wasn't a mega fan of
It was your number
2018.
2 of that year. Sorry to interrupt.
Jesus. Was it a shit year, or...?
No, that was the year God of War, that was the year... It was Red Dead number 1, God of War number 2, Prey Moon Crash 3, Return of the Obra Dinn, Spider-Man, Celeste. It was a good year. God of War was your second, behind Red Dead.
Anyway, this is going somewhere. I replayed 2018 before Ragnarok, and I liked 2018 more on my replay than I did previously in 2018. I don't know if it's because I'm more practiced and adept with melee combat stuff, but I just enjoyed the combat system in 2018 more than I did when I first played it. And I would say going into Ragnarok, I was quite excited. That's the reason I brought it up. You know, just give like a predisposition on where we're with the franchise. How much do we like these games?
Yeah. I was very much looking forward to Ragnarok. I really liked the first game quite a bit. I think I've definitely played through that game more times than you, obviously. I played it through a few times, three times, maybe 4, something like that.
That's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, I definitely did a thorough replay of it during like peak pandemic. I remember doing that at some point because that's a good like just shut the doors and hide inside game. And I was really looking forward to Ragnarok quite a bit. Especially, I was fascinated because they were saying it's the end of the Norse stuff.
Yeah.
The Norse, not saga, duology? Is that a thing? I don't know.
I have no idea.
And I thought that was cool. That sounded that like they could have in my mind, they could have very easily made 3 games in this setting, like, because of the rule of 3.
They definitely could have, yeah.
And maybe they shouldn't have. But we'll get there. And it was also interesting that, someone else was sort of in charge of it, which is cool, keep mixing things up.
I agree.
Yeah. I was aside from, the beginning of the year with Horizon, somewhat Elden Ring, this was the only other major thing I was looking forward to this year.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I was extremely excited for it, maybe to my own detriment, but...
I would say I had hesitations because not to go down yet another rabbit hole that we already talked about for 2 hours, but I didn't like some of the new additions and some of the new design choices in Forbidden West, and I came away from Forbidden West being a little disappointed overall, even though we had a lot of things to commend about that game.
Yeah.
And I don't think I said it in a podcast or anything. Maybe I did, but it was more in the Discord. I said I was a little nervous that Ragnarok would follow some of the same philosophies as Forbidden West, the ones that I didn't like. Which, to check out some specifics, would be Sony's admiration for maybe Ubisoft-like design and open world stuff. And where do we start with Ragnarok?
I don't know. I don't know.
Open world games, Horizon, Elden Ring, they're always kind of hard to pick a starting point because...
I still feel weird calling this an open world game, personally, even though
Yeah, sure.
It's like 4 small medium-sized zones.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'd agree.
It doesn't feel like an actual open world game in the sense.
Maybe that's not the right tag. I don't know.
It's like a hub game. It's not a hub game. The first game was like a hub game. This one is like a Ratchet and Clank game, sort of, where it's like here's like 8 planets and they're really big.
But these AAA things from Sony always have like a large list of things going on inside.
Totally.
Story, open world, puzzles, combat.
Yeah, and like you open the map and there's 40 things on it, and there's a lot of storytelling and exactly. There are many pillars to discuss, and it's hard to pick one.
Yeah, because again, with these games they always intertwine as well.
Yeah, let's maybe not start with story. How about that? Because that will spiral massively. How about? Oh fuck! I don't know, dude. Structure, combat. I don't know. That's why I broke my notes up here. I've got
combat, open world, which maybe wasn't the right tag, but you know what I mean, and story.
Yeah.
Those are my 3 pillars here.
How about combat? I don't know.
I think that is a good idea.
Okay.
Because then, at least for me, we can start off this review in a very positive way. Hashtag foreshadowing. I thought the combat in God of War Ragnarok was kind of amazing. I absolutely loved fighting in this game. In 2018, or with 2018, I had a few little issues. I found the dodging to be unreliable. I found Kratos' movement to be a little bit cumbersome. And some of the fights were like a little bit ad heavy, and I just found myself a little frustrated in 2018. And some of the boss fights were a little bit, I don't know. I just felt a little bit clumsy and unfair at times. But I can honestly say in Ragnarok, and maybe this is due to me playing 2018 just before Ragnarok and being really warmed up, but yeah, I just absolutely adored fighting shit in this game. I thought all the boss fights were amazing. I thought the enemy variety was amazing. I thought the weapons felt amazing. And yeah, I don't know what else to say apart from that. This game is obviously a lot of combat. And at least I can start off this review by saying a large percentage of Ragnarok I had a fantastic time in. Your turn.
I really liked fighting and combat in the first game.
Okay.
And I can't tell you why, but I was annoyed and sort of out of it for all of Ragnarok. And I don't know why. Because I agree with everything you just said about, like, the enemy variety rules, the bosses rule, the weapons rule. It's super fun. Everything is great. It's amazing. But it took me until the very end of the game to start to click with the combat, and that was not the case at all with the first game. The first game, like, within a few hours, I was like, yeah, okay, let's fucking go. And then I did everything in it, and I wanted to do everything in it because I wanted to just engage with the combat, and I thought there was lots of variety to it, and it felt super good. And I just don't know what it is. There are a few little things that I did note down that like make me think that it might be that, but I did not replay the game right beforehand. So but I did replay it multiple times because I enjoyed the combat so much, and I have like some muscle memory there.
You experienced God of War.
Yeah, and I got my ass kicked this entire game. I died
interesting
60 times probably. I felt like
I died quite a lot.
I felt like I kept checking the difficulty to be like, am I on the hardest difficulty here? And I don't know what it is. It was very confusing.
I do think this game is a little bit harder overall. Yeah,
and I think some of the changes threw me off like profoundly and have been hard to sort of relearn in a way. So yeah, I would say the first thing that immediately sort of made it difficult for me with combat was the charging stuff that they really put a lot of emphasis on. At the beginning of the game. Well, first of all, let me just say it's frustrating in a game when you have all the skills at the end of the first game and then you go into the second and nothing's changed and you've lost all those skills.
It's just video game stuff though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but it's also one of those things where you're like, come up with new skills, you know? And they have a few new ones.
I mean, they're altered. Like the hold R2 was altered.
And they have. But there's one specific one that is sort of indicative of what I mean, where it's like the first skill you have the option to unlock in the first game is R1, 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 R2 combo, right? That's the last skill on the skill tree in this game. And I don't know why. It's very weird. Because like the entire game, I was like R1, 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 R2, nothing happened. Right, I don't have that skill. And then I got it at the 40-hour mark, you know? And that was very odd. But the charging stuff, they put a lot of emphasis on at the beginning, which is hold triangle.
Yeah.
Charge up your axe or your blades with the elemental, and then you get a couple different attacks. And that was sort of like, felt like how you had to play it early on.
It's like the main thing you have to lean on, yeah. Yeah,
for quite a while, I found. Like a good 10 hours or so, and then you get the stance change stuff, which is unchanged and felt very good. The hold the charge, I thought, took way too long. I was almost never able to get it off because I would just be like charge, interrupted. That's sort of like
blades. The blades are maybe more better in that regard because they actually kind of not very powerfully, but they do clip and hit enemies and almost interrupt them sometimes with the charge up as it's spinning around.
Yeah, you sort of like whirl them in front of you.
Yeah,
I agree. They were, and you can like partially charge the blades much easier than the axe, I think.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But that was just like, I don't know, that little thing there is like sort of indicative of all of the combat for me, where it's just like, I don't know, it was very strange. I just felt like I was getting interrupted constantly trying to do the skill tree things, and the result was me just kind of using the basic attacks and spamming the runic attacks for most of that game because it was taking me so long to just reacclimate. And now, like, I was just playing this morning to capture footage, and I'm good now. Like I've reacclimated for the most part and figured out the pacing and things, but it just was very confusing to me that it took me so long, and that I was sort of frustrated with the combat regularly all the way through when I loved it so much in the first game. And it's just sort of like a weird mystery to me in a lot of ways.
Mean, when it comes to enjoying combat systems, you can try to science out what the specific is, the specific thing that doesn't click with your brain, but it's just, what's that word for game feel? There's a word for it, I can't remember. But it's just gonna be some like minutia, tiny little thing.
It is, yes.
You just you don't really know what it is, but you just might not gel with it. Because I couldn't tell you why it super clicked with me, honestly. Because when you talk about the charging thing, I'm like, yeah, the idea of having to like back off and slowly charge up a weapon does sound annoying, but yeah, again, I can't give any specifics about why. I just found it not too bad to like slip into the flow of combat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's those are always very difficult to nail down, but God, I was just gonna explain. I just had something on the tip of my tongue that was sort of like, oh yeah, they got rid of a few things as well. They like got rid of the whole bare-fisted skill tree, which is mostly fine.
Oh yeah.
But it was one of those things where it's like, throw the axe and then go in and wail on them for a couple of seconds and then recall the axe. But I didn't do that too much, so I didn't really miss it all that much. But they did.
You did get like the recall axe slam attack near the end.
Yeah, again near the end, and it's like, I do think a lot of it just comes down to having a lot of muscle memory from New Game Plus replays and just being like, and just sort of being a little annoyed that there aren't actually that many new skills. Instead, it's just the same ones, and you're unlocking them really slowly.
I'd say there's some like rearranging of how you get stuff.
Yeah. And
like you get the dash attacks quicker, the press X
right.
and chuck you get those way earlier, so I found myself using those a lot more than I did in 2018. Mm-hmm. I like those attacks a lot.
And they took the shield skill tree and basically broke it down into a bunch of different items, and I found the shield way harder. I think that's probably actually a lot of it, is I found the shield a lot harder to use in this, because they've taken some of the functionality out of the shield. Like, there's like 5 different shields, and they each function a little differently in a way that the first game, the shield there was one shield, and it did all those things, maybe a little too powerfully. I think that was part of it. And again, in the like capture session this morning, I was like, oh, okay, I'm actually getting good at blocking now, finally.
I used the they're called like the Rons, like the middle part. I used the one that increases the parry window, which was very, very helpful.
Yeah, I use that for a lot of it. But yeah, it's sort of a lame talking point, but it's just like, yeah, I don't know what it was, but it just, I felt like I was getting my ass kicked. I think the healing stones, I don't feel like they really do much. In the first game, I feel like they really refilled health big time. It was mainly a health thing. Like, I would just get hit 3 times, and that my whole health bar would be gone, and there's very little way to get your health back aside from Spartan Rage, and the health stones just don't really do much, and that's because they want you to use gear that gets you. There's gear that increases the healing rate, but that's boring. I want to use the gear that does the crazy shit, stuff like that.
I quite this is like a little offshoot from combat stuff, but I did like how pretty much everything in your equipables had like an attribute that could change the way combat worked. Yeah. I got one, I think it was an axe handle. I can't remember, there's so much shit in the equipment screen. Yeah. But it was one where if my axe was fully charged, I can't remember what the specific thing is called when you can press L1 and triangle to activate like, the ult. But when that was fully charged, I took more damage, but every time I connected with the axe, I healed a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that was a really fun, like, risk-reward piece of equipment to put on, which kind of mitigated the healthstone stuff if I was playing well. Right. If I played badly, I would get hurt even more. But I liked it. I liked the equipment stuff.
Yeah. So it's the combat for me is one of those things where I'm just like, I really look forward to them adding a new game plus so that I can just go back through the main story and do all the combat again with everything and really focus in on just sort of locking it all in and messing around with the different armor stuff. I just sort of stuck with what was working and didn't experiment with it much. And I also feel like there was not as much axe throwing abilities in the game. I really liked throwing the axe in the first game a lot. You eventually got to... I
didn't do that much. That's probably why I didn't think about it. I liked... I had a specific piece of equipment which buffed my L1, R1, the grapple attack with the blades. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of like my longer range, big, powerful attack. Right. And then, there's some stuff later on which also makes throwing stuff at enemies better. And definitely. I use that a lot.
And it's very good. It is very good, Again, I haven't really mastered it by any means, but it is cool as fuck for sure. The first game there was a lot of throwing stuff. You could get if you headshot an enemy with a throw, it would buff the axe when you got it back, and then do way more damage on the second throw. There was eventually
I could not get that into the flow of combat, kind of similar to how you couldn't get the charge weapon mechanic into the flow of combat. found it hard to cock back and chuck the axe when people were coming at me, and to aim the axe as well. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's one of those things that, like, I probably throw the axe in the first game like 60% of the time, 70% of the time. Like, it's barely in my hands in that first game. Because there's even eventually I don't know what it is. I don't think if it's a skill. I don't know. Again, the first game has like 700 things that are buffing attacks, but there's eventually one that, like, when you recall the axe after a throw, it like homes in on enemies and hits them harder on the recall. And I felt like all that stuff was kind of just gone from here, or maybe it's buried in armor stats somewhere. I know there are a few that buff ranged
some stuff
attacks.
is definitely gone. I think
Some
just
of it,
to make it feel different, I guess.
So it's like one of those things where, like, my favorite way to play the game was kind of taken out in a lot of ways, which is sort of a bummer. Debuff bigly. So anyways, that I don't know. It's I sort of am reserving judgment on the combat for a while because I want to do a New Game Plus replay and really figure it all out. But like you said, like, all the boss fights are fucking awesome.
So good, yeah.
And there are a lot more of them in this game, and there's way more variety to them.
Yes.
That was something the first game suffered from a lot. Like, there was like,
true.
what, 3 or 4 big story boss fights in the first game.
Troll and giant.
And then it was the troll guys, and that was it, you know. This game, there are certainly some enemy types that you get multiple times, bosses. But they are all, I found all those, they're all better than the troll, that's for sure. The troll is just kind of just like this big sponge that you just hit and he died. You know, it didn't feel like you were doing damage to the trolls. I don't want to say much about the bosses because they're really cool and surprising, some of them.
Yeah. They're really good. Like I said, boss fights for me are a strange hit or miss area. I don't know if anyone listened to my Elden Ring chat, but I had a lot of issues with Elden Ring boss fights. And God of War Ragnarok has my favorite boss fights from a gameplay point of view from the whole year. Which I was not surprising because it was one of my issues with 2018.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to dive down the rabbit hole of why I think that is. I'll just state that that's how it felt when I was playing. Just felt good. And they looked amazing. And they also were quite challenging, but always the right amount. I would probably die once or twice every boss fight.
Yeah.
And that to me is like the perfect amount. You know, sometimes sometimes you first time a boss fight and it still feels satisfying and fun. But it never got to the point where I was frustrated, where it felt like I was dying, you know, like a From Software amount, 20 times.
I did die to the first Drake probably 20 times, but it's because I was underleveled and being stubborn.
First Drake? I don't really
the big guy that bursts out of the wall in the desert, the big dino lad.
Oh, yes. The big rocky boy.
Yeah, I did die to him a bunch, but I was having fun.
Tough.
I was having fun dying.
He's a good boss.
It was just a cool fight, so I wasn't bothered. But yeah, I would agree. I died most fights like once or twice. A couple of them I did first try, and that felt very good, of course, especially when they're a story boss or sort of a surprise boss, because there are. It sort of does this trick multiple times where it's just like, surprise, a boss burst out of nothing.
Yeah.
But it's a good trick, and each time it happens, or almost every time it happens, it's a different boss type, which is pretty cool.
It is.
The Phantom boss type is amazing.
Weird. Yeah, it's weird, but I do like fighting that thing.
Yeah, first time you see, you're like, what fucking video game did this fall out of?
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know where you saw your first one, but it was in the deserts for me as well.
I can't remember.
Like, I did the Drake fight and then was just like skating back to the hub and got, like, it just pops out of the sand randomly.
Yeah, I think mine was a story moment, I think.
Okay, yeah. So that was like a really good, just, you know, what the fucking shit is this thing that popped out of the sand? A lot of good fights.
Oh, yeah.
Not so, maybe less so in the last finale, but we'll talk about that later.
The last open world chunk was probably the lowest point for me. I think it's called like the pit or the cavern, something like that. It's at the very top of Vanaheim.
Oh yeah, that stuff as well. Yeah,
that whole area like to me was
dragons.
Yeah, and repeated boss fights.
Yeah, I meant in the story. lacking a sick final fight, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, the last two fights were fine.
They're
but
cool.
I was expecting more than just an arena battle with the last two bosses of the whole game.
Yeah. But a lot of the other main story fights, like the Thor fight right at the beginning of the game, was awesome. The Nidhogg fight was
the Nidhogg Rift test. Yeah, that's cool.
That was so good. There were the Garm fight was very cool. Like
Garm was good.
I mean, there were like a dozen. Okay, I have a lot of problems with this game, but there are also I also, but like there were like at least a dozen moments in the game that were like, holy fuck, this is sweet, and I had a very fun time with it. But yeah, I just felt like I need to specify that it's like there's a lot of real good shit in this game for sure,
undeniable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I want to preface the same thing because this is the thing with some of our reviews is I love the combat system, right? I adore the combat system, and it's like 65-70% of the game.
Yeah.
So by that metric, I had a great time with God of War Ragnarok for the majority of the time I played it, but there's not many specifics to go into when it comes to the combat system, so it's going to be a short amount of time in this review. And I feel like we're very close to moving on from combat, and that's going to be where things quickly get very negative for me.
Yeah.
But I just want to say, I had a lot of fun with God of War. Like Jameson said, the story moments that we can't spoil or talk about in detail. There's some amazing, like, jaw-dropping stuff in this game. A massive scale way that only God of War does.
Yes.
I love the combat and I had fun with the game. Anyway, what's next?
I didn't love the combat or have consistent fun with it, but But I did still really like the game, right? You know. And Like I'm not gonna play 45 hours of something in 10 days if I'm not enjoying it. It's just that the combat never fully solidified for me, and that was unfortunate because, like you said, there's a lot of it, and I'm the God of War, and I'm just like felt like a bit of a blubbering idiot for a lot of it. But yes, there's a lot of good shit in the game. Also, I think a lot of it was kind of a bummer, and parts of it are straight up bad, like the plot. Should we move on from the combat?
Yeah, let's go. Let's start.
I feel like this is like the Horizon Forbidden West chat, but more. Like more in... For me, it would... Like, I really... I liked...
We'll get there, yeah.
What I mean is, I would say, like, your feelings on Horizon, I feel like we're both going to be having that here. Because I was pretty hot on Horizon despite having certainly some problems with it. I really liked that game a lot and had a wonderful time with it. And wasn't particularly disappointed by the last story bits or whatever. It was more just like the combat or the climbing in that game fucking sucks.
As time's gone on, I'm more and more annoyed about Horizon Forbidden West. It's like rotting in my soul, and I'm very disappointed with that game overall.
This game sort of makes me more... This game, God of War was definitely the game that has officially made me concerned about Sony games in the way that Horizon wasn't.
Oh my god, can we get there?
But like I look back at Horizon and I'm like, oh, this was the first sign, and God of War is the second sign, and you're like,
yes.
The Marvelification of everything.
God, this is a fucking Marvel movie, dude.
And and like we talked about with Horizon, by the end of Horizon, I was like, I'm here for the characters. The characters are great. I'm having a good old time. This is some real dumb, stupid bullshit. This game, I wasn't here for the characters or the world, and there's some real dumb, stupid bullshit that I was also not into, and also just straight up bad storytelling. But let's just say the top 10 games of 2022, the ordering is going to be a little difficult. Horizon Forbidden West, I cared so much about that plot. That world and that story means a lot to me. And in God of War, I like the world, but the story doesn't mean so much. I think that's because it's just about Atreus and Kratos getting to the top of a mountain in 2018. Yeah, for sure.
And then in one game, they kind of have to create a whole new end game.
Yeah.
In one game.
Yeah.
and then wrap it up in one game. But
I want to say this so I don't forget it. I think I realized this morning. I think I was less frustrated with Horizon because I feel like I got like everything I could possibly want from Horizon, or just about from the first game, right? And what I mean is, it's like you get. Remember when we were playing Horizon, you're like, oh my god, all these questions. They're never going to answer this in the first game. And then they did, and they covered like 90% of everything I would want to know about the universe. They covered in the first game. And so the second game was kind of like, I'm less curious about some of these things. Obviously there were, but anyways. What I found with God of War is they pose a lot of really fascinating questions in the first game. Because I like my weird lore stuff. And I have, some Norse mythology interest. It's fun. I like seeing what people do with their weird, larger scale mythos, so to speak. And the first game just paints a lot of questions. Quite literally some of them on the wall. And then this game is like, Marvel, and then it ends, and you're like, wait, there's like a dozen questions I had going in here, and did they decide no one cared?
I thought we were going to go down into like open world structure,
yeah,
but I
don't know.
I think the cap is off the bottle, and we want to talk about it. So I think
we'll come back to structure and other shit.
Yeah, because who gives a shit, man? I will say. I'm just going to give like my opening statement before we go into the story stuff. And this is something I don't know if you agree with, because I can see people not feeling this. But I did like the Kratos and Atreus relationship, bonding, progression in Ragnarok overall.
Yes.
And to me, that is an important part of God of War. It's nice that it wasn't a Last of Us Part 2 where they forgot about it, because there's parts in Ragnarok where Atreus is on his own for a part, and I was like, oh god, are these boys ever going to come back together? But when the credits rolled, I think they did a overall really good job of progressing that relationship, and I like that stuff.
I'm glad to hear that, because I 100% agree.
Okay.
I think
I got more to say.
okay, then we'll come back to that. Okay, go ahead, sorry.
But the story in God of War Ragnarok, the events of Ragnarok, I thought was rubbish. I didn't like the story in this game whatsoever. I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't like the array of new characters, and I was highly disappointed by the ending, and I feel like most of it was for nothing.
Yes.
A lot of it was wasted, and I don't really understand what happened. I thought it was really bad, and I'm quite shocked.
I agree completely.
Okay. I mean, this is like the one thing that we kind of insinuated in our Discord chats. We try to keep things vague so that when we come into these review chats, we can kind of have a fresh talk. But I had to ask questions along the way to you and Andy, because I just was so lost about what was going on. And I thought maybe you would like it more than me, because in 2018, they use the Norse mythology as like a compliment, like a crutch, an inspiration. But there's so much stuff in Ragnarok which just felt nonsensical to me, because I knew it was purely mythology based, and I just didn't know the history.
It's not, though. That's the thing.
Interesting.
I reread my Norse mythology summary book, which is a good read, Neil Gaiman, Norse mythology, that's what it's called. He goes over all the basic fundamental stories, and I really like having that base knowledge. I was glad to have reread it. I know who Kvasir is. I know about the wall built around Asgard and all these things. That's fun. They don't do anything interesting with Norse mythology in this game.
Interesting. Okay, because there were certain missions in the game where you have to find a moon or something, and then two dogs start flying around in the sky, and I was like, well, maybe Jameson appreciates this, while I think it's a bunch of bullshit.
I mean, so that, I know what that is, that's cool, but they don't use it well in the game. That's Skull and Hati, they chase the sun and moon, and when they catch up to them, Ragnarok happens, but it only, in the game, it's they just do it in Vanaheim for some reason, and...
as part of a really weird puzzle mechanic where the puzzle is you hit a wall and go, oh, I have to backtrack to this pond. Make noise and I can go back.
And Heimdall stole the moon somehow.
Oh,
I have no idea.
Okay.
I think it was. I think it was. I think he was doing that when you were in Helheim. I'm not sure.
Sure.
Anyway, let's backtrack slightly here.
Sure. Yeah.
And yes, I think the Kratos Atreus stuff is really well done here, for the most part. I mean, it's a little like there are times where they're just sort of like we need to. There are times where they just sort of like speed through and force them to do a few things that are a little like whatever. But I would say the heart of it is really good all the way through. They were for the most part there aren't really any sections in the Kratos Atreus stuff in this game like the first game had that are sort of just like now Atreus is an obnoxious little shit. I just want to fast forward this part. There wasn't really anything like that in here. I thought. Like, Atreus is a teenager. He does some stuff that's not very smart because he thinks he's smart.
I like that stuff a lot, actually.
Yeah, and it's like, he fucks up and he goes...
And he's kind of irritating, but in a way which makes sense for someone who's like 13, 14 years old.
100%, yeah. Like,
overconfident and a little obnoxious and cocky, but...
Exactly, yeah. And I think that was, like, spot on. They did a great job with all that.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
I really appreciate, especially you brought it up, The Last of Us Part 2. We talked about, I remember you just bringing this up. Why does no one ever have a conversation in The Last of Us Part 2? This game, people just sometimes, actually quite a few times, people just sit down and sometimes literally have a meal and chat it out.
And a lot of good chatting.
Yes, a lot of good chatting. Are we in full on, am I just going to do like a spoiler section in the middle of the chat? Like...
I don't know where you're going, so depends.
I don't know
you're
either,
making this video.
Yeah, whatever. But like, as an example, the what the hell's her name? Oh my god.
Freya,
Kratos beef that was set up at the end of the first game, which I was never. I don't know. I always felt it was like, okay, Freya, calm the fuck down, would you please? I mean, I get it, but
her son.
But like they don't let that linger for too long in the second in Ragnarok, which I appreciated. They wrap that up nicely by how do they do it? They have the two characters fucking talk to each other and explain their shit to each other.
Yeah, this is just like a little additional point. I would say my favorite story stuff in the entire game was just offbeat conversations between Freya and Kratos.
Yeah, because they're really
I like Mimir a lot. He's a great character, but there's something like very close about Freya and Kratos. Both gods who have lost people and made mistakes, and Kratos doesn't open up about certain things with Atreus. And yeah, I won't spoil any specifics, but I thought their stuff together was really good.
Yeah, a lot of good mutual respect and understanding from the two of them. Yeah. There are a few other moments. Yeah, I'll try and keep it like not spoiler territory for now, but we will have to get into spoilers just in the middle of this video. There's multiple moments of like good just sometimes when there's a story beat where you're just like the only possible thing that like real like proper writers and writing good human beings they would do here, it's just like we're not going to fight. This would be an opportunity for false drama, which something like The Last of Us was very good at. The real thing to do here, just fucking shut up and hug each other. And there are a few scenes in this game where they just do that and you're like, yes. Thank you. He comes home, he's fucked up, he's upset. What do? They look like they're going to be pissy with each other? No. They just hug. And it's like, yes, finally. Thank you for understanding this is how a human being should function every now and especially in a game where it's two giant muscled, death machine gods, basically. They just say, fuck it, let's hug. And I appreciate that. Yeah, there's a lot of, I think, good character work throughout the game from beginning to end. Some of it, especially near the end, maybe a little melodramatic, but the interpersonal relationships between the main characters from the first game are very well done here.
I agree. Good moment.
And that's not an insignificant thing. That was important.
Yeah, and there is some also like off the main storyline, actual main missions, where the adventure gets a little bit sidetracked into different things. They were also really strong. I think we kind of already mentioned the big cinematics in this game are really good, and there are moments of the story along the way which are really good and really exciting.
Oh yeah,
but when it comes to just like the main vein, the Ragnarok vein,
the actual plot.
Wow, yeah,
What the fuck happened?
Stinker.
Dude, what the fuck happened here?
So like the first game definitely suffered from MacGuffinitis, I will call it, which is we have to go get the thing. But the first game, it was not as problematic in the first game because the end goal was always the same. It's very simple. We have to get to the top of the highest peak and spread our mom's ashes. Very easy to keep. Exactly. It's very easy to keep sight of that all the way through. And you're like, oh, we have to go get this thing now. Cool. Yeah, it helps a lot when you have a simple goal driving the whole plot instead of this game, which has no simple goal. It's like, we have to stop Ragnar. No, we do. No, we want Ragnar. No, we don't. What? Huh? Oh, the credits are rolling.
Yeah, I don't know what the aim was.
And then also, when you were being sent out to get the MacGuffin, I feel like they set it up well in the first game, and you have like...
I think you just didn't care it was video gamey, because usually a new MacGuffin was tied to a new realm you hadn't seen yet, and there was like a sense of excitement.
Yeah, it's like we're going to Alfheim to steal the light, and, you know, and charge the Bifrost, and it's like, okay, and clear the fog. Okay, that makes sense. Let's go to... Well, I'm a little foggy on that first game.
I guess like Helheim to get the heart of the big boy.
Right. Go to the big giant in the snow and get the chisel from him. You know, things like that.
Yeah.
You have to go and get a bunch of shit in this game, and I couldn't tell you what any of it was.
Yeah, I actually almost laughed at one point because Kratos' belt was so cluttered with items. I was like, oh my god, dude.
Yeah, the only thing I recognize is the Gjallarhorn, but again, it's just sort of, it's not like you go to Asgard to get Gjallarhorn. It's just comes to you.
I still didn't like understand what it was, and like I got it when he was in the realm travel room, and it kind of like opens all the realms, but and then it vanishes, and I was like, what is this thing? I don't understand.
Yeah, and that's the other part of it. It's like they don't really explain what the MacGuffins...
Why did they need to open all the realms? Didn't they have the stone that they could
so that
use?
All the fucking heroes can come from all the realms to fight in Asgard, and then
We're in the... Okay.
You know, I think...
we're in the end game now.
Exactly. The entire game is just like... We want to stop Ragnarok, we think. How do we do that?
Let's do everything in the prophecy so far.
How do we stop Ragnarok? I don't know. Let's go get this random thing. That didn't work. Let's go get this random thing. That didn't work. Actually, we want to do Ragnarok. Let's go get this thing to start Ragnarok.
Then they go to Ragnarok, which is a physical person, and... what were they trying to do in this game? I don't get it.
I don't know. And then there's this whole other layer of like the prophecies and fate, and is fate a thing? No, people are just predictable, I guess.
I didn't even understand why they went to war with Odin.
I don't know, dude. That's the thing.
I know he's bad. I guess that's why he's just a bad guy. Let's get rid of him, right?
Well, that's another problem, I think. The first game has a good main villain in Baldur. He's a sympathetic character, right? He's got his problems. He's basically been cursed by his mother. It's a good tale. It's very, very much taken from the Norse mythology stuff. But he's also like a fucking asshole, and is really
he's like, annoying as well.
He's annoying. The fellow, I can't remember the name of the actor that plays him, but he does a great job with his sort of nasally sniveling voice, and he's really good, especially for like a short little like skinny dude. He's sort of got like the Rafe person, like a bit of Rafe stuff from Uncharted, where it's just like, this guy doesn't look like a villain, but he really is the villain. And then in the background of the first game, they talk about Odin and how horrible he is. The entirety of the first game. And they talk about Odin for the entirety of this game, about how fucking horrible he is, and we have to murder Odin. He's so terrible. Oh my god. Yeah. And then every scene Odin's on screen, you're like, he seems fine. He's just a guy. And I think the writing and performance for Odin is fascinating because of the way it's like completely not what you expect. Like the fellow does a great job. It's a good sort of like...
The main performances are all fantastic in this game.
Oh yeah. But it's like, you expect like the sort of Zeus thing from the old games where he's just like this huge fucking piece of shit monster. But then you get to him and he's like this old, quiet nerd.
Yeah.
And And there,
I liked his design a lot.
I think they like it's fantastic. As soon as he showed up, I was like, oh fuck, it's Odin, and then it's like, oh, this is their idea of Odin. I love it. It's great.
Yeah, me too.
Richard Schiff, that's the fellow, and he's fantastic as Odin, but he's not villainous to me at all. Like nothing he does in the entire game is that bad. Like
not until like the very, very end, and then the thing he does is like borderline strange. You're like, oh, I mean, we're not in spoiler territory yet, but it was like, what? Okay, I guess he's a bad guy.
And it's one of those things where like the whole 2 games are telling you he's really bad, but then what you're seeing is the opposite of that. And
he's just a dude who wants a mask to look in a green tear.
He just his main idea is fascinating. Like he is the king of the gods. He's the first of all the gods, which they don't do a good job of explaining. I mean,
I did not know that.
So he's the all father. He was like, there was like some oh my god, there's so much cool shit in Norse mythology that they didn't do anything with. But he was the first god. He killed like this giant titan creature and created the universe, basically. Odin did all of this and then spawned all of the fucking gods from Odin. He's the all-father. He is like insane.
He made the universe, how does he not know what's in the green tear?
Well, he didn't quite create he created like, I don't know, the realms sort of.
The realms,
in a sense. But then, so his like whole goal in Ragnarok is, I want to know, as the All-Father, as the God of gods, what happens when I die? That's his goal in this game. And you're like, yeah, dude, that's a big question. I'm with you. Let's find out. But then at the end, they're like, no, we have to kill him because he's terrible. And I'm just like, what? I would be on board with helping him. I want to know what's in the green tear. I want to know what's up with this mask. No, you don't want to tell us? Okay, credits are rolling. Bye.
Yeah, like Thor and Odin don't really like wrong the guys that much throughout the game. There is obviously one pretty significant scene. But that's after you've already killed Heimdall and Thor's sons and
like half the rest of the pantheon. Like,
yeah.
I think Thor is also really well done here.
Yeah, Thor's a good character, even though he's wasted.
Yes, he is wasted. But like, he's like a sad drunk, and that's good stuff. And there's a great scene with his daughter where she's just like lays into him, and she's just like, again, good scenes of characters talking. Like they could have fought, but she's just like, just come and fucking ask for help, coward.
I don't know if I was into the Thor's daughter stuff with his dad and his family. I don't know.
It was a little heavy-handed.
It just didn't really go anywhere.
No, that's the thing, yeah.
And Atreus kept like annoyingly butting in and caring about it. And I really hated the Atreus in Asgard stuff because it just felt so weird and uncomfortable. Yeah. And just like no one seemed like that annoyed at Atreus for killing Modi, Thor's son, and then he just goes on adventures with Thor, and Thor seems so like apathetic to it and like just doesn't care.
I think I don't think anyone actually knows that Atreus did kill Modi. Yeah, Atreus knows that.
No, Thor's daughter brings it up at the beginning, like, oh, Modi was a piece of she's Modi was a piece of work, so we're friends. It's like they all know that he killed Modi.
I was under the impression that I think there's a line where Atreus is like, no one actually saw me kill Modi. It's only Father and I that know I killed him.
She's saying like they think Kratos did all of it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the. But regardless, it's just like
sense, yeah.
Still, it's like you're the son of the guy that's killed like a ton of people that are close to us, include like Balder, Magni, Modi, eventually Heimdall, and Atreus is just like welcomed with open arms
why is he trying to find the mask? Like I know he can translate the writing. Is Atreus the only person who can like decipher languages in all the realms?
How
could Odin not do it? Didn't he invent all the realms? I cannot read the mask and understand.
I have no fucking idea, Joe.
Why is
I was
Atreus
asking
there?
I was asking that the entire time to myself. I'm like, Odin is the smartest guy in the universe next to Mimir. Why is Atreus the only one that can translate this language? I have no idea.
Yeah, the language stuff is just not. It's obviously like it's one of his godly powers. I think that he's just really good with language. But Yeah, is he the only one? I mean, someone spoke that language at one point, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't exist.
I don't know. I don't know where that mask came from. They don't ever address it. It could be from fucking Narnia, for all I know. I don't know. Like, maybe it fell out of the Horizon universe. Like, I don't know.
Can we, like, I don't know, I can't remember if I interjected and interrupted you saying something, but can we talk about the Atreus solo stuff? Because it didn't come up in combat either.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where we should... Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about story details, so I feel like... I don't know, people who listen to these aren't looking for a first impression. These are, like, down the road, most people have played or watched this game.
Yeah,
I think most
definitely.
people... It's not like a huge reveal that you do some sections of Atreus.
No, it happens pretty early on, honestly.
Yeah, it's not quite like the Abby stuff from The Last of Us 2.
No.
I didn't like any of Atreus's solo stuff because I feel like Atreus really needs like a Kratos, even though Thor is kind of like a big father figure. I don't know. I just found him and his stuff slow and pedantic and like a waste of time story-wise, which it turns out it is when the game ends. It's a complete waste of time. But yeah, I just didn't like Atreus on his own. But like he really works with Kratos, but when he is the leading role, and especially when he's with like another young character, that's when it got really tiresome. Him with Thor was okay, but him with Agraboda and with Thor's daughter, I really didn't like that stuff. It just felt very Disney Marvelish, and again, they are all children, so I don't know how you make it seem more mature. But it's God of War. It's God of War, man. It just didn't feel right having two children riding a big bison and then skimming stones in Jotunheim. It just felt weird. Like it was like the wrong game. The pacing was bad, and I just didn't really care.
Yeah, I really liked the first Atreus segment when you're with Sindri.
Yeah. I
because again, Sindri is an old, mature character.
Oh, so isn't that the first like revisit to Midgard? When you haven't really seen much of it, or it's in the Lake of the Nine yet, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah. So I liked Atreus with Sindri. They're a good duo, and I would.
You're right. I forgot about that. That's a good point.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen more of them because they have good chemistry and good dialogue and sort of riffing and again, they're sort of opposites of each other, and Sindri is also old and wise. And Thor, I kind of like the segments with Thor because Thor's just like, fuck off, shut up, I hate you, you little shit, fine, I'll do it, whatever. And that was fun. But yeah, I don't even, when you said there's a section where he's with Thor's daughter, I don't remember that
That's
at all.
That's when they go to Niflheim.
Oh, right. Oh, that is with her. You're right. Yeah, I total eyes glazed over. I don't remember any of that.
You want to be a Valkyrie. I'm going to tell your mom that you are going to be a good Valkyrie. And it's like, oh my god, dude, what is happening?
And the Angraboda stuff, like there's a few interesting bits there with like the giant lore, but and then there's like the Norse mythology knowledge side of like, this is eventually his wife. At least
I didn't know any of that. I was just like, who is this chick?
But they don't acknowledge that in the game. So, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know that that's necessarily the case. They obviously get along and like each other, but there was just sort of that element to me of watching and be like, okay, like this is them meeting. That's kind of interesting.
I don't know who she is. Who is that girl? Where'd she come from?
In the context of the game, I have no idea.
Where did she come from?
He magically teleports to Ironwood
by saying it in his sleep, and
she's there. She's the last giant, or one of the last giants, because
the rest of the giants are in marbles.
The rest of the giants are in marbles for some reason, which doesn't come back.
Got put into a snake.
Doesn't really come back again until the last scene of the game, and you're like, "All right, the marble bag."
Yeah, right.
And that segment in Ironwood is like 4 hours long. It felt like, even though it's only about 90 minutes.
Man, I forgot about that. It goes nowhere. I actually thought the idea of all the giants being actually not dead, but like their souls are trapped in a bag of marbles. I was like, okay, that's
interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, don't do anything with it.
You're gonna bring them back? Like,
no, that's in another game.
Dead now. Okay.
There's a lot of stuff. That is one of the other problems. There's a lot of setups with no payoffs.
Oh yeah.
That's just like fundamental storytelling 101 is you set something up and then you pay it off and it's satisfying. Like that's what stories work. Marbles, no idea. They don't come up again. They put Odin's thing. Like they do one thing with Odin in a marble, and that's it. And then the rest of it is sequel bait, I guess. I don't know. I have no idea. Because that was like a 90-minute long setup that they don't do anything with.
That scene sucked, dude.
Which
Ironwood
one?
Scene sucked.
Oh yeah, it goes on for so long.
Oh my god, it goes on forever.
Yeah,
we're not in combat anymore, but do you want to like quickly talk about fighting Atreus?
He was fun. Yeah.
I actually thought they did a really good job at the beginning of making Atreus fun, but I did find near the end that I wanted a little evolution to just the way he played. Maybe another weapon, like the sword doesn't really count because it's kind of autonomous and just flies around, even though it's kind of a cool thing.
It is. Ingrid's a cool,
Yeah, but I think for a kid with a bow, they did the best job they could. I just think it needed to evolve just a little bit. Like the Thor section, and that's basically the last part when you're in with Thor and Niflheim, but it's like at the end of the game, you also get like a new element of combat. You become a bear. And then you never get to become a bear again.
You do it once.
I was like, I mean, that's a cool thing.
Yeah,
I like to have done that for more of the game.
Like the first time that happens is a great moment, which we'll come back to maybe.
But it's a good moment.
I think they did a good job with his combat. He's snappy. He's pretty fun. My one problem with it is that it's so infrequent that I just never quite mastered it because it's like.
Is there much to master with him?
I don't know. A
little bit.
There is, to a degree. I mean, it's not hard to, they definitely tune the difficulty way down when you're with him, and that's fine. But it just was more of that thing where it's like, I played for an hour, and I'm like, okay, I'm starting to really get it, and like, because there are a fair number of like trinkets and things you can put on them, and this. Oh my god,
I don't understand any of that stuff.
I don't know either. I just equipped some things and walked, but they were so infrequent that I just sort of would, when it would come back to Atreus, I'm like, okay, wait, what's the flow like again with him? And then by the end of that segment, I'd be like, okay, I got it, and then it would be 16 hours before the next segment.
There's a couple of things like I didn't know what the pink arrows did when in combat, because you could switch between like the sonic arrows, which I believe they made the next melee hit more powerful or something.
When you're as Atreus?
Yeah, the green arrows.
Oh, I don't know. Dude. Oh yeah, when you're as Atreus, like I don't fucking know. I don't know.
And then pink arrows. I was like, what do these pink arrows do? And as Thor, it looked like there was a power where you could hold square, but you never like got to activate this like lightning-looking thing in the bottom right. So I was like, I don't know, man.
I think there's a few bugs like that. The final skill tree where you can instantly charge the axe and Leviathan blades just doesn't work.
I thought it was just me.
No. Andy and I talked about that as well. Yeah, it just doesn't work.
Because the first time I got that power up, I did it first time. I was like, I just do the same timing as the, what's it called when the stance switching.
Yeah.
I went by that timing and it worked. I was like, oh, this is sick. And then I never did it again. I just couldn't make it work.
I looked at that skill very early on, like 2 hours into the game. I was like, oh sweet, okay, that'll be good to get. And I looked forward to it the whole game, and it never. And when I got it, I experimented with it for both weapons, and I just don't think it works, and I don't know what's up with that.
Late. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it's a really tiny window, but for the final skill tree upgrade, you'd think it would be like, let's go, let's rock. This is easy and powerful to do, but anyways, that was very frustrating. The main story. I have more complaints with it. For a game that is called God of War Ragnarok, the finale really doesn't rock.
Wow, you went off for that one.
It's the apocalypse in a game that is all about like crazy scale. Like the end of the first game is you fucking fist fighting a man on top of a giant snake.
Yeah, it's sick.
It's so stupid.
Why does Freya never use that ability again in a cool way?
I don't know. She should be like
possess
reanimating
the dead. Yeah,
she should be reanimating like headless Nidhogg and bringing him back and riding him into combat or something. Like she reanimates the corpse of the giant, and then Jormungandr comes in as well, and they all fight. And it's so stupid and amazing.
I was sad that Jormungandr was just in the background fighting Thor. I was like, oh man, I love that dude.
Yeah, so the whole game, I'm like, oh man, they're going to do some fucking crazy shit with the finale of this game. And then and you go to and like again, I know Norse mythology. You got to get Surtur to leave Helheim or to leave Muspelheim, and he fucking cleaves Asgard and all that shit. I'm like, okay, cool. And we go to Surtur, and he's like actually kind of interesting. And then you turn him into this giant monster with the best voice sound treatment ever put in a video game, and you're like, holy shit, this thing is wow. And then you call upon him, and he's just in the skybox, and then there's a line where he's like, he switched sides, he's crazy.
Oh, yeah, that was weird.
And then he's just in the skybox for the whole fight. And then also Thor and Jormungandr are fighting in the skybox for the whole fight, and nothing happens from it. And
it was a cool setup to begin with. I was like, oh, here we go. This is
exactly
just the first step of what's going to unravel.
The first 10 minutes of that level, you're like, ooh, okay, yeah. I like where this is going. It's a little dumb and very marvelly, but I'm on board if we're going to keep escalating.
They start to set up that things are going poorly. Then the Helheim army sinks, and a couple of other watchtowers, whatever you call them, realm travel towers, explode. And it's like, oh no, this is going poorly. What's going to happen next?
Nothing.
And then you just do Thor and Odin boss fights in an arena.
And the biggest blue balling boss fight cock tease of all time happens where it's Ragnarok shows up and he's like, let's fucking fight. And then it cuts to white. And you're like, no, game over. And you're like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Freyr just killed him off screen somehow magically.
Did he?
I guess so, yeah, because Freyr is dead and Ragnarok is dead, apparently, and Asgard exploded. And I don't know how that works either. I
did not like that cliche of one person stays behind. It's just get in the portal, you idiot, for fuck's sake.
No, or have fucking Kratos fight this thing and have it be the cool, amazing, dumb finale that it should have been.
You made him, you got to stop him, right? That's what
exactly.
Kratos
That's
does.
the whole setup. Is we made this monster. He's gone rogue. Let's kill him. No, just kidding. Fade to white. End credits.
Oh, I thought his female wife counterpart was going to come in and merge, the prophecy said, to stop him. But
again, all these setups, and then it's just no, it didn't happen.
Is he still in Asgard?
No, he's dead.
He's dead.
Yes.
Wow.
They don't say. They just say Freyr killed Ragnarok.
Oh.
They just say that.
I missed that.
Yeah, it's just a throwaway line. They also have a throwaway line of, oh yeah, Thor hit Jormungandr so hard with Mjolnir that the snake went back in fucking time, which I knew because they established that in the first game, or they hint at it, and that is, again, Norse mythology, very cyclical. And they established that, when Ragnarok happens, they fight so fucking hard that the giant snake goes through time. That is in the lore. And it's just a throwaway line of dialogue after the credits have rolled. And you're like, excuse me, there's time travel in this game? What? Huh?
Oh, I just randomly remembered something that I want to ask about. Why was there the lightning bolt in Vanaheim? The Thor and Kratos collision lightning bolt from the sky.
Oh, if you do all the side quests there, all the lame fetch quests.
I missed one, I think.
Yeah, they explain that Faye, the wife, the dead wife, who had Faye. The axe, she and Thor fought hard there.
Oh.
They had a crazy battle long ago,
cool.
and that's what fucked that whole area up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where because that's when Mjolnir and the Leviathan axe clash. It creates that frozen lightning thing. Yeah, that's why that's there. Yeah, so the finale, I was looking forward to the finale the whole game, and it was just a totally lame. It was just totally lame.
I don't know if I'm in the totally lame camp, but I would say disappointing as well.
Yeah.
Just the last two bits where you're past the wall, and you're, when you from the Thor fight onwards, it was just a little bit oh, where is everyone?
Right.
What? It's just it really tunnel visions down to you fighting in a courtyard in front of Allfather's house.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a Marvel Avengers Endgame war happening. Where's everyone gone? you know? It's really quaint and quite small near the end. And Odin's just on his own. Yeah, it was it was a bit odd, detached.
Yeah. It felt, I don't know. And related to that, one of the things that I complain, I don't know if we talked about it. I should re-listen to that review, but I always found it very weird in the first game how like lifeless the worlds are, in the sense that there's no people. The closest you get is in Alfheim. There are some elves fighting in the background, and that's it. Right. There's no sense of culture in these games, and that's very odd to me. They dabble with it very, very lightly in Svartalfheim with the dwarves, and that's
There's like 6 dwarves that run inside.
There's like 6 dwarves in the background, and like one guy in the pub, and that's it.
And they don't come back out after you finish the game because they're hiding from Odin, right? They're influenced by Odin.
Yeah.
Maybe word hasn't traveled yet.
Maybe not. The dwarves may be a little slow. Yeah. So I was sort of hoping they were going to do more with that, and like pre-release footage, they showed them in Svartalfheim, and they were dwarves, and I was like, oh, this is like a city. Oh fuck, we're actually gonna like see that there is a civilization here and not just Kratos and Atreus and a bunch of dead things.
It's such a cool moment as well when you pull up and the alarms go off. This is life.
And then they never do anything with it, and all the realms are completely dead and empty, and that's and then the weirdest parts happen, which is at the end of the game. They're like, we've got to go gather allies, and I'm like, who? What? Are there people in this universe? Like, I have no idea still, because Freya's like, I'm going to Vanaheim to get the allies, and I'm like, do you mean like the guy with the big dog, or do you mean like actual like civilians? Do they exist? I have no idea. Cindery's like, I'm gonna go get the dwarves.
It was weird seeing like the Midgardians on the wall in the end sequence. Like, there's people there. Just like
there are people. They're just like living, and they're just like farming, and it's like, where are these people?
This game does feel a bit Star Wars with like 6 people in the universe.
Yeah, and it's like, we're gonna go get the dwarves, and I'm like, okay, I have seen a few dwarves, so they at least exist. Or it's like, we're gonna go gather the armies of hell somehow. We just do that off screen. Doesn't matter. We got them, no problem. And so they just like have this weird setup of like, we gotta go get everyone, and I'm like, who is everyone? Like, there are 6 people in this whole universe. Like, what's huh? Yeah. And then Sindri shows up. He's like, they didn't come. Fuck you. And then
he says no more dwarves are dying for this. It's like, what were you doing then?
Right. So what did you do for like a week or whatever, or a day or an hour?
Yeah.
And then Freya's like, we got allies, and we got the Dark Elves, and the Dark Elves fucking have a peace treaty and reunite off camera, and you're like, what? Huh? Like,
I really like Freya.
Oh god, it was so bizarre because like. I appreciate, not to just go to Horizon again, but like the setup for Horizon 3 is like, we gotta get everyone together. And like, that'll actually be, even if who knows, how it's executed, but even if like the reason they have to get together is stupid, like, I know we're gonna travel around and meet lots of people, right? And because they're like, Horizon has living, like, civilization exists there. And this game, they just like do an entire like 6 hours worth of plot off camera in 30 seconds, and you're like, it felt so disconnected to me. It felt like they just wanted to do their Avengers Endgame moment, but they didn't have the world for it at all, because there are no people in the world, and there's no stakes for it.
Maybe this story just doesn't work in one game. Maybe it just isn't. It's like a rushed Justice League type thing where
it felt like it.
Yeah. And they're all fighting together at the end, but it hasn't really built upon this. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was very, very strange. Because there's so much passion from some of the main cast of like, we have to protect what's ours in this world, and I'm just playing it like, I don't give a fuck. Everyone's dead. Like, what?
I also, somebody just doesn't know Norse mythology, I still didn't really know what Ragnarok was, except for a war.
Right. Well, yeah. Oh, okay. That's probably a problem that they didn't establish that very well for non-experts, because Ragnarok is the end of it's the apocalypse. It's the end of the universe. Like,
I didn't understand that part. They showed like there's a lot of I don't know what you call this, prophecy wooden tablet things that you open. They showed those with big battles and stuff. But I didn't understand the stakes or what to do about it. I just didn't really understand a lot about Ragnarok. Maybe that's on me for not listening. I don't know.
I think you're right in that it's just like they are presuming everyone knows that it's just means the end of the... I don't know. Yeah, because in The reality is, like, in the lore, like the real Norse lore, I'm pretty sure it's like everyone battles, basically everything dies, and it's the way for the universe to be reborn, essentially.
Okay, well, we've already gone into spoiler stuff mildly, but let's just really dive in.
Yeah, please.
Why doesn't Ragnarok happen? What was this all for? Why was the prophecy wrong? What happened here? I don't get it. What was this game about? Why was there so much prophecy about Ragnarok when it's just Odin and Freya, Kratos, and Atreus fighting in a basement? What was this all for?
Know.
What is Ragnarok? I don't get it.
I don't know. In the context of the game, I don't know.
I don't get it, man. What was the point of the mask and the green tear?
I don't know. There was no point.
Yeah.
That's the point, man. For the pursuit of infinite knowledge is pointless.
Yeah.
Making the whole game be about this mask thing and then just doing nothing with it is just like, it's just so frustrating.
Yeah, it was.
Because, like, they're hinting at something, and then it's just like, no, it doesn't matter. It's all destroyed. It was...
Because I thought the point
whatever.
was to... Because Atreus wanted the mask because it gives you access to infinite knowledge, and he was going to use that knowledge to stop Ragnarok,
right,
and save the world and save his dad. But it just happens that way anyway.
Right, without having to do anything with the mask.
And then there was like one throwaway short line about Faye breaking, like destroying one of the physical prophecies in Jotunheim, so they made their own path. But I didn't know what prophecy they were talking about because I thought they saw all of the prophecies. What was that? And then she says Faye went against her people, and Faye changed the giants.
Yeah, I don't know. I know. I'm saying that.
I rewatched it this morning, just the ending scene.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then I was looking at the actual board at the end, the last prophecy, and I couldn't decipher what any of it meant.
Oh, me neither. Yeah. That might be the weirdest part of the whole thing, because that's like the very last thing in the game of like Kratos discovering the not very well hidden backside of the board, seeing something and like having some sort of emotional reaction that I can't decipher if he's like, is he happy? Is he exhausted?
Yeah, I think he was happy because it suggested he was going to be revered and worshipped and people liked him.
But did he want that? I don't think so.
I don't know. It's a good question. Maybe he does.
And yeah, it's very unclear of like, I guess it's just the people of Midgard who don't exist and we've never seen ever.
Don't exist, yeah.
Are worshipping Kratos, and Kratos is both into and not into that, I guess? Question mark?
Yeah, it doesn't really seem like Kratos' things, but I guess it's better than him dying.
Is it though? Like, I don't know. Like, Kratos seems like the kind of guy that just would be completely fine with dying as long as his kid's okay.
Yeah. I
he
should
feels
look at
like
the last prophecy board again to remind myself, the Jotunheim one, because it's like Kratos is in Atreus' arms, and there's like a weird thing coming out of him, like a snake.
Oh yeah, that's Jormungandr, the giant snake, is coming out of Atreus at the end of that first. Yeah, the final drawing is Kratos is dead in Atreus' arms.
Yeah.
Atreus is looking up, screaming, and the snake is coming out of his mouth.
I thought Atreus was going to put Kratos into a marble. That's what I thought was going to happen.
Maybe,
I thought that was his soul coming out, and he was going to marble his dad to stop him. Or so, like, Kratos was going to be like, I'm done, marble me, or something, I don't know.
Yeah, so, like, that's one of the biggest frustrations for me, is because, like, I understand what they're hinting at with that first, like, the whole finale of the first game is, like, we were going to call you Loki, and, like, okay, we know Loki from the Marvel, but, like, Loki in the mythos is, like, he's a fucking shit. Like, he is basically the devil in that universe. Like, he's a problematic character. He's also the father of the giant snake. He's the father of the Lord of Hell. And he's the father of Fenrir, the giant dog, wolf that will devour the fucking sun and moon at the end of the world. And so, like, they set that up at the end of the first game because they have a drawing of Atreus giving birth to the giant snake. But you're like, wait.
Right, that's what it is.
But wait, the giant snake already exists. How could he do that? And then they're like, it doesn't matter.
I don't understand anything, dude. I just don't understand.
I know.
Prophecy rewriting. Like, did Faye fake the Jotunheim prophecy that they saw to guide them somewhere else? Because there's another prophecy at the end which shows that that doesn't happen, so maybe that was the real prophecy, and she made a fake prophecy to make sure the other prophecy happens?
I don't know.
I'm pulling at straws here.
They recreate the end of the first game image at the end of this game when Odin is in Atreus' arms and his spirit comes out of his head. And
that's why I thought Kratos was going to be marbled.
Right, and you're like, okay, so I don't fucking know, man. I don't even know where I'm trying to like conclude somehow, and I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. Like, I just
the story sucks, dude.
It was so fucking frustrating because there's so many interesting questions about like, oh my god, man. They ask so many interesting questions about like actual Norse mythology, and then like them doing their own weird shit with it. None of that goes anywhere. They ask so many interesting questions in the first game about like, how does this world work? How did Kratos get to Norse mythology? They don't address that at all. There's so many things like that where it's just like they didn't care about expanding the fiction and all the things that they set up in the first game.
I thought some of the Greek stuff was going to leak in a bit more, because it did in 2018. It's a big part of the whole franchise, so it trickles in small ways, from pottery to obviously the blades and then Athena. But that was
some of the best stuff in the first game as well, right?
Yeah, like, I mean, you can say it's fan fiction, but it's so much a big part of the franchise that it makes sense to be there somewhere.
Yeah, and it was fascinating because you're like, wait, this is the same character. How did he get here? How, like, he sees Zeus when he goes to hell. He sees Athena when he goes to get the blades. You're like, why, like, what is this, like, why is this world, like, this universe leaking into the, I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea.
Yeah, I think there was like a shadow from his past, and maybe it faded.
Maybe it was just in his head, but like
monstrous. Yeah.
Yeah, but also like this dude from Greek mythology is now in the Norse mythology world, and I don't know how that works. I have no idea how that works.
I was definitely expecting some sort of crossover. I don't know what I was looking for, but it just feels like, I don't know. It just feels like there should be, right? There's 6 Greek games.
Yeah,
the PSP ones, and
a shitload of them.
Yeah, how do we conclude this story chunk, dude? Because we could... this is like turning into a Last of Us 2 video.
I don't know. It was very frustrating because I felt like I was waiting for the whole game to go somewhere, and it never did. And I was extremely disappointed by the general story and mythos stuff in here. I think the main plot is poopy. I think the mythos stuff, it's just like they just said, nah, no one cares about that shit. Let's erase it. Who cares? Moving on. And I think there's some decent character stuff in here, but when the character stuff feels in service of like kind of nothing, it's harder to appreciate, I think.
I know what you're saying, because like it's complicated because, like we said at the beginning of the story chunk, I really did like Kratos' and Atreus' journey. I found it hard to get used to soft Kratos to begin with. I understand there's been 4 years between not just the release of the games, but like the narrative. So obviously things have changed with Kratos. He's not the same grizzled man he was in 2018, but I did find it really strange just how soft he was. But I do think by the end of the game that actually pays off well.
Yes.
I don't know if I liked all of the Fae dream sequences. Again, they're part of that Naughty Dog slow walking narrative exposition stuff.
But they actually pay off, right?
I like the small moment where he says he was wrong and that you should open your heart and not close your heart. It was like a nice 2-game setup, which I like that. There's some good character moments. There's some good what do you call like when they go to Helheim and Garm's there? These like spin-off mini adventures.
Side adventures, yeah.
The side adventures, there's some really great stuff in there. There's some great favors and missions and character moments. But the main thread that keeps the game together ironically falls apart, and I was confused, and I was just looking for motivation to why we were doing anything. And near the end, it seems like they're setting up a motivation, and then it doesn't pay off. And it's bizarrely bad.
Yeah,
this is Santa Monica. They're a talented studio, and I cared a lot about where this story went. And I can't say anything except for I think it was bad.
which is not something I thought I was gonna say. Even like 10 hours into the game, I didn't think that's where I was gonna end up. And yeah, it is a huge disappointment to me. And that sucks.
Yeah. The equivalent for me would be like getting through half. It would be like I'm playing Horizon and then they set up at the end of the first Horizon, they're like, we're going to explain everything that happened in the past in game 2, and you're like, great.
Yeah, at least Forbidden West is like it's a direct sequel which you could almost snip off with a pair of scissors if you really wanted to.
Yeah, and and the reality is Horizon, we actually got all that exploration. I feel like this game, the first game was like, we're setting up all these fascinating things, and then they just don't do anything with any of it in the second game, and I found that extremely frustrating. On top of the fact that, just the main plot is just very confused. It's just a very messy, weird Marvel clusterfuck. And it's a shame because there are a lot of really great individual moments throughout.
Sony just needs to trim the fat some of the times, I think, in some of their games.
I think they also just need to, I understand why a lot of devs are chasing the Marvel thing for multiple reasons. A, it's very marketable and sellable, and people like it. Like, a lot of people are liking the story here because it seems complicated and deep, but it's not. It's a jumbled mess.
Do people like the story? I haven't really looked at a lot of reviews.
Yeah. From there's definitely a lot of people that are like, this was not good, and then there's the I feel like from what I've seen and where I've been looking, it's like, this is the best game story of all time, or it's where they're like us, where it's like, what the fuck? Anyways, it's made more frustrating by the quality of some of the other stuff in there.
Yeah.
Like, good character moments. There's like, the whole Fenrir thing is just a perfect little payoff. Like, that's good shit, right? I liked Softy Kratos. He just looks so old and exhausted, and and he's like, fuck it, man. I've been broken down so much. I'm gonna be nice now. I give up. Yeah. That's him giving up as being nice, which is like refreshing. Instead of The Last of Us, like, I give up. I'm gonna slit everyone's throats. It's like, no.
It is a counter to The Last of Us.
It is, and I really appreciated a lot of the story beats there. But yeah,
Kratos is so good, man. He's just such a good character.
He is. I still can't believe that you can say that, because he was so, just shitty in the old games. And they did such a good self-analysis of that character.
Of regret and mistakes.
Yeah, and I think, the two games fit really nicely together when it comes to the Kratos and Atreus stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
But the overall world was a huge letdown, and yeah, I ended the game and I was just like the Pablo Escobar meme of just staring out the windows like, what the fuck? I'm just so, I feel so, it left me feeling so cold on the whole thing. And it even sort of sours me on the first game as well, because at the moment a lot of stuff has just been brushed aside, and I think they have a lot of ways for them to keep expanding this world, and of course they're going to, because these games sell like crazy, and they'll I don't know, maybe they'll do an Atreus game, or I don't know where they're gonna. I don't know where they go.
No one wants that.
That's also the weird thing. I don't know where they go next, because they're obviously gonna go somewhere, because
Atreus is getting the giants back, and
I don't know,
yeah, I don't know.
I appreciate not having this insane sequel bait setup, but also being so confused and disengaged that you're I don't know or really care where we go next is disappointing, because I was expecting to know where we're going to go next and have a good understanding.
Obviously, the whole community is very excited about the prospect and the rumors of new mythology going forward, and it would have been nice just to have a little twinkle of that, a little suggestion.
Yeah.
Let's get the fuck out of here. Ragnarok ruined everything. Let's go to
Egypt.
Yeah.
That's always been the sort of throwaway, guess or thing that people want, which would make sense, because there's a lot of crazy god stuff in Egyptology. But it's so frustrating. And I say I want to do a main story replay for the combat, but I don't want to do a main story replay for the story.
No, me neither.
Are they gonna? I don't know. Maybe there's gonna be a 30-hour DLC next fall that just like makes the whole game better. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. So it's unfortunate. It is unfortunate because there is so much good stuff on the journey through the story that it's the worst thing is when you the best thing in a game is when you go into it expecting or not expecting anything. The best thing is when you get surprised by a game and you're like, I don't know where this game's going to go, and then the game goes much further than you thought, like Horizon, the first game. The worst thing is when you go into a game and you're like, ooh, I wonder where this is going to go, and it goes backwards or nowhere, and you're just like, and it lets you down. That's the most frustrating stuff, and that was what I felt throughout all this game. Not just story-wise either.
Oh boy, here we go.
The structure of this game is exhausting. Structure, take it away.
This is like a section which, I'm interested to see what you feel about it, because I would say if combat I feel extremely positive about and story I feel negatively about, I would say the structure of the game is something I'm just mostly middling on. I do not dislike this hub world, boat around, do mini little activities on little beaches and continue on your way. For 30 hours. I don't hate this stuff. I just think, yet again, in the classic Sony way, for me, there's just too much of this shit, and there's not enough variety going on amongst the activities. Specifically, I did not like the puzzles in this game.
Oh god, they're so boring.
The puzzles actually start off really promising. The Svartalheim, is it Svartalheim? Svartalheim?
Yeah.
When the game kind of starts with these freezing water aqueduct puzzles. I was like, oh, these are kind of clever. And you freeze a geyser and it changes the water flow and lifts some wheels. I was like, all right, we're going somewhere. And then you get to the knife bouncing, so the axe deflection puzzles. And I was like, these are weird, like, this is not how physics works. And I feel like I'm just dragging my cursor around, waiting for this line to go blue or purple, whichever was the correct color to say you're good to go. And it just felt unintuitive, and I didn't feel like I was solving a puzzle. I was just looking around at this pad of crystal and hoping that I got it right. And then we got to the pink bubble puzzles. Oh my god, dude, I fucking hate the pink bubble puzzles.
They're so bad.
It just, I don't know what they were thinking with these pink bubbles, because they're not fun, they're annoying to lay out, and mechanically, I just don't
tell.
I don't know, like, there's no depth perception, so I don't know if they're, like, connected. I don't know how much these bubbles have to overlap for the blades to explode them.
Sometimes they just disappear as well. Like
Right. And then if you get, I didn't know this, Andy told us last night that there is apparently a controller button prompt to get rid of them, but I didn't know there was a way to reset these bubbles. So every time I got one wrong, I had to replace all of them around, kind of like an Elden Ring map marker mechanic.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for the arrows to cool down as well. Oh my god.
I didn't even know that you could shoot it multiple times to make the thing bigger. So the first 8 of those puzzles, I was just like, screaming at my television.
Yeah.
And then they finally chimed in with a useful tip. And they said, did you know you can shoot the thing? And I'm like, wow, Freya, finally you gave me something useful instead of just solve the puzzle by doing this, you fucking moron.
But weirdly, the water puzzles, the deflection puzzles, they all kind of vanish. And you're just left with the pink bubble puzzles. And then the old school fucking look around the environment for 3 things puzzles, which I can't stand anymore, dude. I'm so sick of standing there as the God of War and looking around for 3 torches.
Ding
Please
dong.
stop me looking for 3 bells and 3 torches and 3 things to put the other weapon in. I don't want to look around environments anymore. I want to move and I want to fight stuff. There's so many of these fucking look around the environment puzzles, dude, and it drove me insane.
Yeah, I feel like there's way more of those, of just like all the side stuff in this. I guess because there's way more realms, right?
Yeah. Those puzzles are so annoying.
They're also just like so brain dead easy. Every single puzzle in the game is so easy.
And they're tied to the apples and the horns, which are powerful.
I know,
just like, oh my god.
Again, this is another reason why I look forward to New Game Plus, so I don't have to do any of that shit.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it in the first game. Again,
they're quite minimal in the first game.
They feel appropriately spaced out.
Yeah, I actually found the Ragnarok ones to be quite obnoxious to find, like more challenging. Especially also Odin's ravens are more obnoxious as well. And yeah, the balance wasn't there. There was too many of them, and I just found them super frustrating and like pace-wise not good.
Yeah, there was a lot of there's some of those find the 3 ones that you have to use and it's like you have to hit it with a thing, and the thing you're looking for is like a little tiny 1 inch tall totem. And I'm just my nose, I'm like, where the fuck? I'm right up on my TV. Like, am I missing it? Where is this thing? I can't see it.
Yeah, I gave up with quite a few of them, I will say. I just walked away.
Yeah. I think the structure in the first game is great because you're coming back to the same area, and that area is evolving over the game, and you really get to know the Lake of the Nine and seeing it change.
Yeah, I missed it, man. I missed it.
Yeah, having it just become there's 7 places you can just go and do these things.
There's no anchor.
Yeah. The entire first game is so cohesive. Like, every part of it fits together so well. Like, every side story is loosely a parable about father and son relationships. Every mission ends with you returning to Midgard. Everything is in service of everything else, and everything fits together, if that makes sense. The
Lake of the Nines is really creative and intelligent game design, because every time Jormungandr moves, which is tied into an actual story moment where you're actually interacting with the snake, it changes the environments of the Lake of the Nine. It's really intelligent and cool evolution of the one space that you know the best.
Exactly, yeah. And so losing that in exchange for just more isn't worth it for me. And I think the zones are just, I don't know if I just expected the zones to be more interesting as well, because it's I
would say the design of them is all really, really good. I think the visual design of every realm is really stunning and mostly varied. I thought Niflheim and Helheim became a little close, and they felt interjectable, but I thought the visual design of all the realms was really good.
It is. Yeah, I think, much like the story stuff there, I was definitely, after the first game, I felt like they had a lot of room to grow with their side stuff, and I was definitely disappointed by just how much this is 100% identical to the first game. Yeah, it really is.
Just switching Valkyries for Berserkers and...
Right. And
what else is in the side stuff?
All the same collectible type things. Actually, there's less collectibles, but that's fine, whatever. Just, here's a chest, here's an angry boy, here's a ghost that needs you to go on a fetch quest. And then all the puzzles felt easier and also less enjoyable in this. I don't know if that's just because I'm bored with them, because they're so easy. But then the pink bubbles were just a pain in the ass.
Oh my god, I hate the pink bubble.
Yeah,
fuck that thing.
The side stuff was just kind of it just didn't really do anything for me.
No, I'd say the side stuff I liked was combat based, because I had a blast with the combat. I would get excited whenever I saw a Berserker icon. I love the Berserker fights. I think they're much better than the Valkyrie fights overall. But now we're talking about it, I'm kind of failing to remember what other side stuff there is.
There's some enemy outposts to clear.
There's some rift things, but most of them are just the Nidhogg baby pickup things, which is always kind of disappointing for me, because again, I said I was enjoying the combat, so I liked the proper realm tears with the big angry boys would come out of it, and there wasn't many of those.
The Draugr that really doesn't like you.
The Draugr holes were difficult fights. I enjoyed the Draugr again because it's a fight, and I like fighting.
yeah. I also just think there are 3 side quests that are really cool. In the first, in Svartalfheim, the big whale.
Oh, super cool, yeah.
in Alfheim, the big jellyfish.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Super
that was
cool,
actually like that might be the best quest in the game, just because it also, again, it's like the first game where there's like nice, parenting sort of story basically, but in a different form.
Yeah. And when you come back, they've had babies, and the babies are in the air. That's cool.
Yeah, and they have to like sacrifice themselves to keep the line going, basically. That stuff's really good, but then those are both pretty early. Those are both in the first like 15 hours.
Yeah, this game starts really strong.
Well,
I really liked Svartalfheim. I was really into the whole loop at that point.
I was gonna say the story mission stuff I thought was exceptionally boring for the first 15 hours, because it is like the most linear fucking.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god! Please, let's open up. But yeah, Svartalfheim is a like fun zone to explore and feels nicely interconnected. Vanaheim is the most obnoxious place on Earth.
How so? Just exploring it?
Is it Vanaheim I'm thinking of? Yeah.
Vanaheim's like the biggest area in the game, basically.
Yeah.
You're there a lot.
Exploring Vanaheim, oh my god.
Yeah.
What a pain in the ass. So, like, the first game suffered, quote unquote, from being so good that there was very little that needed improving. You know what I mean? And, but there were a few things that they needed to improve from the first game, and they didn't improve them at all. And one of those things was the map. The map was fucking useless, and it is so shit. The compass is useless, and the map is useless, and re-exploring Vanaheim. Oh my god.
Yeah, I did one thing the other day.
God.
I had a question mark top right of the map. I think it's by the abandoned village.
You're never going to find it, dude. You're never going to get there.
It was a Draugr hole. It was the last one I needed for like the Chaos Blade, whatever you call it.
Like 30 fucking minutes to get to that.
I did it, and it took so long to get there and back that I was shocked that I'd missed. I was like, I must have missed a not warp gate, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Rome travel door. I was like, I must have missed one. There's no way.
No.
It would make me do all this like wall climbing and shimmying along, and I didn't find one. So I don't know if I shouldn't have missed it the first time, but it wasn't fun to re-explore.
No,
it
was not
like I was doing something very wrong. You know, like it wasn't designed to be done that way.
Yeah, and if you try and like re-explore the Vanaheim area too early, you don't have the ability to actually get to some spots and changing the time of day. And so you like paddle and open your map and be like, which fucking direction do I go here? Okay, left, paddle, get to a dead end, and you're like, oh my god, okay, let me turn. Like there were a couple of times where I reloaded an autosave instead of fucking walking all the way back, because it was so tedious. And it's a game where you're like encouraged to re-explore everything. And oh my god, some of those zones are so obnoxious to get around.
But there's a couple. It's disappointing because I can't give specifics, but if you imagine the Vanaheim map, if you go left, kind of like into the ocean, there's like a winding path which leads up to a place which you already explore in the story quest, and there's like a route designed just for backtracking. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about specifically.
Probably, I think so.
The bottom of Vanaheim map where you start, you can take like a left. You go across that weird drawbridge thing. You use it to get at the end. You might have to bleep that.
Sorry. Yeah, Svartalfheim. Right.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Is it Svartalfheim? Yes. Sorry. You're right. That's my bad. But like, there's a whole piece of the map which is designed specifically for backtracking, I believe, because you get up there via lift before. And I was like, oh, this is cool. They've designed specific portions of the map so for completionists, because there was a berserker fight up there, you've got like a new thing to explore. But in certain areas, it isn't like that at all. You are retreading a main story mission which is empty from enemies.
And it's like 5 minutes, 10 minutes of walking and explore, and it's just like, oh my god, it was so frustrating. And I don't know if did you figure out how to get the water back up into the second zone?
Water back in Vanaheim?
No, okay, you must not. Yeah, in the desert area. Okay. Well, I didn't realize you could break that piece of wood that was blocking your path to that spot.
Okay.
And so I spent like an hour re-exploring that zone, and I had to look up a guide on how to get there. And let me tell you, it's not easy to find a guide for a thing that's like piss easy. It's just like this piece of wood,
right,
and there's a rage stone behind it, but I didn't realize that. And I thought it was one of those things that you had to grapple and like yank down from the other side.
You're talking about releasing the dam?
Yeah.
Oh, right,
To get up to the area where the water, to the dam. Oh my God. I never want to re-explore that zone ever again. It was so annoying.
That area was my least favorite of the game, just because there was a lot of reused boss fights. The dragons were pretty cool. I like fighting the dragons. They were new things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was just where that specific format of the game, the boating around and doing mini islands, it just kind of reached its peak of repetition for me there. Luckily, that was the last of that sort, and then the game kind of ends, but that was like one too many for me.
Yeah. It's too bad they don't do anything new with it. I think the surprise of it is interesting, and then like the way it sort of evolves with the water is really cool. But it's just more. It's just more.
It's just more. Yeah.
I felt that fatigue pretty much immediately when we got to Svartalfheim, and they're like, now you can boat around and hop off onto the shore and do the same things you did in the first game. I was kind of like, oh man, like really? This is just exactly the same game again, huh?
I found it kind of funny that boating around had become a thing. Kratos was just a boater now.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Yeah.
We're boating. Also, I was not the only person who laughed when in Svartalfheim there's like a weird transition where you lie down in the boat to go under something. I was like, what is this? Why am I lying down in this boat? It's so weird. It's like another hidden dwarves. It's like a hidden Sony load screen, but they couldn't figure out how to make it make sense in a boat. So
right.
Kratos lies on his back and looks like he's died in a Viking burial.
Funny.
It's really weird.
Yeah, and that's part of the bummer is just like we're 2 years into the PS5 and it's just like this is such a PS4 ass game, you know.
The wall shimmying, can I die?
Fucking wall shimmying and hidden low. And there's definitely less of it in this than there was in the first game, but it's still there's a lot of it. And the climbing stuff, it's just like so brain dead. That's the main problem for me. It's just the side content is just so brain dead easy and mindless that it's not satisfying me mindless. It feels like I'm just like my brain is falling out of my ears. Like it's just. Ugh.
Yeah, you know more than I would, because just for context, I finished the game last night and I haven't done any scouring.
Right.
I've done, I think, there's like 12 berserkers. I think I'm on like 7. I haven't done the double or triple berserker. There's obviously talk of a big Valkyrie boss fight out there, which I haven't done. And I've done 1. I liked last night where like the Asgard shards appear. And then I did 1, and I think Freya says, I wonder how many there are out there. And Kratos goes, we'll just have to find out. And then it says 1 out of 10, bottom left. I was like, oh, there's 10. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's the answer. Kratos, you don't see the UI? Okay.
And they're just enemy outposts again with like 6. There's like 1 or 2 that are slightly different, but yeah. I'm
gonna go back and do the big boss fights because I enjoy the boss fights and combat in this game a lot. But not looking forward to having to find them on the map.
Man, what a pain in the ass. Good God. Holy shit. Some of them were so frustrating. Yeah, I am glad that they aren't, like, that this is the end of the Norse saga, just because it hopefully means that they're done with this format. Even though I feel foolish saying that, because it's probably not going anywhere, but my hope is that it does.
I mean, every Sony game is the fucking same now, dude.
I just want them to, like, I don't know. And it's all made more frustrating by which has come up a lot, and I'm glad it's been discussed so much, the relentless hinting quips from your allies in this game.
Yeah, have we not talked about that yet?
Oh my God, for a game that is so brain dead simple to navigate your way through, the frequency with which the allies would be like, just do this, idiot, just here's the solution. Like, I just walked up to the puzzle, I haven't even looked at it yet, and you're telling me what to do.
Yeah, it's annoying.
And they do it in combat as well. It's like, you should really block. I'm like, I've been playing this game for 40 hours, Mimir, shut up.
Every time you get a crystal in that last area, you should go to the pool and put your crystal in. It's like, I know, dude, I'm saving all my crystals to do it in one trip, to be efficient. I don't want to go there 20 times.
Kratos, you're on fire, but you probably already knew that. It's like, holy shit, shut up. Like, that makes it makes the side content more annoying to me because it's so easy. And then the game is like, you're too fucking stupid to understand what you're supposed to do. We got to tell you what to do immediately.
This is stuff we were talking about on the podcast where it's just AAA isms.
Oh, God.
The game reaches a certain scope and scale, and they unfortunately just have to put these crutches in for everyone. You know?
Yeah, I know. But like
also,
the first...
you can do accessibility in the reverse order and make things optional and harder for people who want that, you know?
Yeah.
I looked for it and I couldn't find it, so...
Like, they need an option in these games called, I have a functioning brain in my head. Yeah. Turn it on. Yes, I agree. Because, like, the first game, I never remember that coming up in the first game, ever.
No.
Maybe it's because Atreus wasn't as smart, because he was a dumb kid and he doesn't know how to solve puzzles as well, and now he's like maybe it's storytelling. Maybe it's diegetic storytelling, where Atreus is so fucking smart, he's solving the puzzles before his dad can even fucking look at them. He's got to tell you. Like, I don't know. It was so obnoxious.
It worked in the first game because there was like runic stuff, and Atreus was the only person who could read the runes.
Yeah.
So in the context, it made sense because Kratos literally couldn't read that stuff.
Yeah, and also in the first game, like, Kratos is, he's just like a dumb killing machine, basically, or on his path to being slightly more than that. And oh god, it's so. The other thing that needed to be improved from the first game that was probably made even worse in this game is all the UI and fucking upgrades and put this on and unequip that and amulets.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
Oh god, I'm getting a headache. Oh.
Pommels. There's a shield with a thing in the middle of the shield as well.
There's so many of them.
You've got a handle for the blades and then something for another thing.
Yeah, and then you get this amulet that has like 9 slots on it.
Oh, the amulet. I forgot about the amulet. The amulet.
Oh my god.
And then you got to remember that you can use your EXP to upgrade your Fury and each runic thing, and also the whatever you call the relic. L1 circle?
Yeah, the relics, yeah.
You can upgrade that, you gotta remember you can upgrade that, and
and your skills have bonus points that you can put on them. Oh my god.
I made everything stun, and that was pretty juicy.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me just look through my notes for anything miscellaneous.
I really liked the weird roguelite mist zone in Niflheim in the first game, and I wanted them to do more with that, and they just deleted it from the second game. They just said, no, we can't be bothered.
Didn't, so I can't really back you up on that, but it's weird that the Muspelheim... How was the Crucible like? Because I didn't touch it.
It's worse. It's worse.
I'm not playing
There are 3 challenges. No, there's 3 rooms with 2 or 3 challenges each, and then a central one. And to get the central challenge is like the really hard ones. To get the central challenges, you have to combine like room 1 with room 3, and then room 1 with room 2, and you have to redo the challenge in room 1 every fucking time. So you just like are repeating the same challenges to get a new challenge.
Yeah, combat arenas are not my thing in any game. I ignored the arena in Forbidden West, and I did the same thing in Muspelheim. It's not my thing. I always find like unnatural enemy wave stuff to just feel bad. I don't want to fight enemies for 3 minutes straight. There's a lot of fighting in the game, curated, designed combat encounters, and I will just play those and have a good time.
I really liked the trials in the first game because I liked the combat and because I was so enjoying it. And again, it's that same problem. Like the combat was never clicking for me, so the trials were just more frustrating. So I just went to give me a story mode and just grinded through them in half an hour, and then you got so many crafting resources from it. It's ridiculous.
Also, there is one thing which I cannot criticize. Can't criticize as much because I understand it's another AAA-ism. But like the realm travel is not as satisfying in this game. I understand it's just way faster, and you don't have to walk all the way back to the realm travel room. And traveling between realms is more consistent and happens more in Ragnarok, so it has to be quicker. I understand. I don't even know if I would change it if I had the option. But man, it was so exciting to travel to a new realm in the realm travel room. It was so dramatic and bright and visceral. And yeah, maybe it's just nostalgia, and it would probably be annoying in Ragnarok. But just want to pour one out for the old realm travel room, especially as it evolved and you found like different layers to it and you spun it around at the end. God, that was so cool.
I will say, I don't know if you've if you went back there, but there is actually quite a bit of dialogue that says, like, literally word for word exactly what you just said. Like, you get back there and a Trace is like, man, I miss using this place. It was fucking awesome. And Kratos was like, yeah, it was pretty sick.
It was.
So they know as well, and they acknowledge it, and you'll appreciate it when you stumble back on it.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it's very quick to get around in this game, which is for the better for sure. But yeah.
I think what is overall quite shocking to me is how similar I feel about Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah.
There was like, I absolutely adored the combat system in Forbidden West. I thought it was a massive improvement. The animation, the visuals, the world design of Forbidden West is just ridiculous. Not to spoil anything, but I do put it a little bit above Ragnarok in all those departments.
Ragnarok, like visually at least, looks like a PS4 game on steroids.
I think this game looks pretty good. Not Horizon sharp. Horizon Forbidden West is still to me the best looking game ever made.
Oh yeah, like by a mile.
But I just was a bit disturbed by how similar these games felt in like pacing and design and the way they've evolved. I don't know the inner workings of Sony. I know that Santa Monica and Guerrilla are two different studios. They are
a very long ways away from each other too.
They are made by two different groups of people.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to suspect that Sony has a bit more finger in the pie than maybe we know, and that they are maybe demanding certain things from their biggest first-party creators.
I do wonder, because
there's a lot more openness, there's a lot more icons, and it's a lot longer. God of War Ragnarok and Horizon Forbidden West. And the stories are more groupy. Horizon and God of War all have a big group of characters who share a base together and then come together for like a final battle. I found it weird how the background stuff in the last mission really reminded me of the background stuff in the last mission of Forbidden West.
Yeah.
There was just a lot of same feeling stuff. And I'm just a little worried about how I have not liked any Sony first-party sequels more than their predecessors. They've all felt more bloated, more cumbersome, more, I don't know. We've gone through it 100 times. The stories feel worse. But the frustrating part is simultaneously, they do improve on big aspects, specifically gameplay, at least from my perspective.
Yeah.
I think the combat in God of War Ragnarok is better than 18, and the same thing for Horizon. But yeah, I don't have any conclusive thoughts on this. It's more like conspiracy theorists at this part, but it's weird to me how similar I feel about Forbidden West and Ragnarok, and how I did not like the overall direction both of those sequels went overall, even though I came away definitely still liking both those games and thinking they had a lot of positive stuff within them. I'm not sure if there's any more Sony IPs left for them to tarnish that I even care about. They've already fucked up Last of Us. Uncharted, Ratchet and Clank, I guess.
It's interesting because, like, there haven't really actually been that many sequels to, like, the new Sony games, right? Like, Horizon was kind of the first one. I mean, The Last of Us, I don't know, like, it doesn't count to me just because it's a sequel to, like, a 10-year-old game, and I
Do you not think it's weird how in Last of Us 2 there's one short open world section? What if there's like a contract where they have to do open world stuff from now on, and Naughty Dog was like, this is a little way around it?
I don't know. I don't know.
Tinfoil hat stuff?
That didn't stand out to me because they were messing with it in The Lost Legacy, and it like worked really well in Lost Legacy.
That was an Uncharted 4 sequel.
I guess, yeah.
So coming together.
But like Horizon, I feel like Horizon onwards, Horizon 1 onwards was like the new Sony era in it, because then we got like Spider-Man and Ghost of Tsushima and God of War and all these things. And we've only gotten, in my mind, sequels to 2 of those so far. But I definitely agree that there is a concerning number of similarities between the two.
I just don't want their games to be homogenized, like the Ubisoft stuff.
Yeah, and
they're starting to feel similar to me.
I'm with you, yeah, and I really liked Forbidden West, and I wasn't particularly bothered by the bloat and the sort of marvelification of it, but I am retroactively now looking at it being like, because this game really is kind of the same thing as Horizon, and it's odd. I agree. And it is also frustrating because this sounds like we fucking hated this video game. Like this.
That's what I was saying at the beginning of the review.
I know it's it's like
we finished combat at 20 minutes, so it's been an hour and 40 minutes of railing on Ragnarok.
Yeah, and it feels stupid because like. Like it's constructive. It's criticism that comes when you like really liked something, or the first thing or whatever. But like I liked this game. It was fucking fun as shit, and there were like tons of awesome moments in it, and it's so well made. Like it's ridiculously high quality. Everything is just wow, fantastic. In terms of just production values and all that, and it's. And it's fun, once the combat really clicks with me. But yeah, it's so weird to have a chat like that where you're just like, you feel let down, but it was also really way better and fun and good and sucked and I'm tired. I don't know.
I think products are a sum of their parts.
Yeah.
And I think Forbidden West. I mean, we should not bring it up again. It's a different fucking thing, but
I know.
I think the sum of Ragnarok's parts are not all that good, and I think it's disappointing.
Yes, I agree.
For me, I think the combat is incredible. Maybe one of my favorite combat systems of all time. I just had an absolute blast. So I will remember Ragnarok pretty fondly as having a very good time throughout.
Yeah.
But with sequels, you have things, you have expectations.
Yes.
And expectations like, what am I looking for here? There's like a bar of quality or things that I don't know, man. I don't know what words I'm looking for here.
Yeah.
But like when it's a second game, you just expect things to move forward, or you expect things to be equal or better. And this game is worse than 2018, in my opinion.
Oh, I think 2018 is like more or less as close to a perfect AAA video game as you can get in terms of it achieving all of its goals and being this incredibly coherent, cohesive package from start to finish. And as a like reboot, like there's a reason that game has sold so many copies because it is like staggeringly well made and intelligent, and like we talked about on the podcast recently, like it's so smart about how accessible and casual friendly it is, and at times it's a little too much so, but I look at him like this is genius. Like this is genius work for selling 30 million copies of a video game. But then it is also just like the combat was incredible, the storytelling is solid, the visuals, yada 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 yada, the world structure is creative. Yeah, I think Ragnarok is worse in every way because the combat did not click for me the way it did in the first game. And then the story is a letdown. I mean, the visuals are better, of course. The voice acting is as good, if not better. But like, as a whole, like you said, the sum of its parts. The first game is almost more than the sum of its parts. Like you add up all these great things, and you get like this thing that's like, wow, this is actually somehow kind of like even better than it has any right to be. And this game has definitely left me bummed.
Yeah,
and I think I'm shocked by that.
Yeah, everything needs to be like balanced and good in a product for it to come together. And I can say that the combat system in Forbidden West and Ragnarok are superior to the predecessors. Yeah. And then logically you would think, well, surely you like it more then because you had more fun fighting and the games are mostly about fighting. Mm-hmm. But there's like an unspoken special feeling or something when a game is consistently good in all areas. Even if the highs of Ragnarok are higher than the highs of 2018, it's about everything coming together in a clean fashion that like sticks with you. And again, like Last of Us 1, 2018 God of War, Horizon, they all capture this like perfect little package. They have an idea, a direction, and they nail it. And their sequels just haven't. None of them.
Yeah.
They're all like Last of Us 2. I don't know if there's like this pattern I should keep bringing up. I know it's a Ragnarok review, but I'm kind of more going to Sony sequels.
Yeah.
Like the next, if you want to do like the Marvelication and call this like phase 2 of whatever this stuff is, it's been too messy, too inconsistent, and too all over the place. And yeah, their direction is not really working for me at this moment. And if they continue in this direction, I will probably keep liking their games less. I think that's how I want to end this.
Yeah.
At least my thoughts.
Yeah, I would mostly agree, even though, like, I still find their formulas satisfying. I don't know, maybe I don't anymore. I think Ragnarok was the one that sort of broke it for me. Whereas,
I mean, like, I still watch Marvel Phase 4 movies.
I do not.
I'll still watch Captain Strange and whatever, because why not? They're fun. And that's how I feel about Sony at the moment. Whereas before, I would revere their work as the best out there in the industry. And now I look at them as just like, these are fun and shiny.
Yeah,
which is a step down to me.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at as well, which is too bad. And I just hope that we see them shift away from it a little bit. I do think...
I don't know.
It's hard to know, of course. It'll be easier to judge in like 2 years, but I do feel like a lot of this... Story aside, I do feel like a lot of it comes down to like the cross-gen stuff, you know, where it's like...
Yeah, or just like sequel expectations and scared of affecting fans and you have to play it safer or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously going to be a big part of it because these are enormously expensive games. You can tell like just by looking at them. Yeah. And you have to be able to sell millions of copies. I get all that. But I also do think... I would love to have seen a world where Horizon Forbidden West and Ragnarok were both PS5 only games and they were able to... like really explore that hardware and apply that structurally to their formulas, because I feel like both games would have been way better if they didn't have like the hardware constraining them. But maybe that's not true. Maybe that's just how they were always going to make these games. We'll never know, obviously. So yeah, I just sort of hope that the PS5 generation gets going at some point here as I look at my watch and it's like almost 2023 and I just feel like I'm just sort of tired of these games that were made for old consoles and then I hope that I just wish people would get over Marvel shit because it's just not that interesting. And
Marvel and Ubisoft game design.
Yeah, it's like Marvel
storytelling. Please move on from both of those.
Yeah, Marvel storytelling with Ubisoft game design. Not a combo I'm particularly fond of.
I mean, it was fine, like in Spider-Man, but I'm just it's been like 5 years, dude.
It's been too long, too long, and I would feel so much better about all of this if I had been really into the story here. Like if they had done a good job with their story and I had enjoyed it, I would have been like I was with Horizon, where it's like, even though. It's like I had a good time. I was happy and I was exploring all these things and doing all these things because I was enjoying their storytelling with their characters. And it was just like every other part that is still like great or good in Ragnarok is let down for me because the story I'm just totally not into. And that's too bad. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see where Sony and these studios go over the next few years. I'm fascinated. Yeah. I'm fascinated. So,
especially as these franchises just get bigger and bigger.
Yeah, that's also the thing. Like Ragnarok was like the biggest Sony launch of all time. So
and that doesn't usually correspond with creative innovation.
No, certainly not. We'll
see. We'll just have to keep waiting for new IPs where people take risks and do something bold.
Yeah, maybe.
With Hideo Kojima.
Well, we'll see. We got the Game Awards in a week or something, so maybe.
Yeah, please make me something weird.
But, I mean, like, God of War 2018 was not a new IP, right? So you can still do wild and creative stuff with your existing IP. It's just, the classic, the age-old question of, like, do we actually need to innovate? No. So let's just make the same thing every year. And that's unfortunate.
Until we hit the wall of diminishing returns.
Yeah, until sales don't reflect, success. Why should, like, that's what God of War did. Ascension bombed after 3 sold the most copies in the series. So they said, okay, we gotta fucking mix it up. And we're not gonna see that mix up soon, I don't think. But maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe I'll be
Ragnarok
wrong.
was like sold $1 trillion and was critically acclaimed by everyone. So.
It is a little weird to me how it reviewed exactly the same as the first game, because it is objectively worse in so many fucking ways. But that doesn't. We don't need.
Reviewers are stupid, man.
They are, and
they get hard on because they got a game early. Oh my god, I got Ragnarok. Guys, I'm playing Ragnarok, and you're not playing Ragnarok. It's the best fucking game I've ever played.
I also
That's
just
how
think
their dumb brains work.
It is. But I also think there is like a large segment of people, both that are making games, reviewing games, and playing games, that are totally into this Marvelification of things. Because of course,
it's because they've been playing games for 2 years.
Well, I mean, Marvel movies are still the most successful movies out there, and
because they've been watching movies for 5 years.
Exactly, and they're fucking bad movies, but people are stupid, and we're smart. They need to make games for us, not the stupid people.
No,
oh shit,
they're easier to sell stuff to.
I know, exactly, but we also are easy to sell to because we're gonna play it all anyway. So fuck me, I guess.
Yeah. I really like Ragnarok. I thought it was really fun.
I think I'm with you. I really want to replay it because I'll be able to just be like, accept it for what it is and have fun with all the cool, good shit that's in the game, of which there is plenty. A lot. There's a lot of it. I love good shit.
The game was really fun. Puzzles suck. Story sucks. Sony suck. The end.
Let's go play Dead Space 1 again, and then Dead Space 1 again.
Yeah, let's play Dead Space 4.
Dead Space 4 and Dead Space 1 coming soon, baby. Here we go.
Well, alright. It is time to talk about Callisto Protocol. Maybe not in the most prompt manner. But I guess we should start with a little backstory because no one has context for like the small journey this game went on when it comes to me specifically playing it, because I think you kind of went in out of curiosity.
Yeah.
But I didn't. The reviews for this game dropped and they were not good, and I just didn't really care, honestly. I don't know if it was just the time of the year, but it was basically the last game of 2022, like the last big game anyway.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And the reviews came out and people were like, yeah, this game isn't scary or fun. And I just kind of very quickly, emotionally moved on. I think in one of the podcasts, I did say it was like my most anticipated game of the year.
Right, that's what I wanted to make sure was said, because you were really quite looking forward to it.
Yeah, I was quite alarmed by how quickly I was like, well, all right, never mind. It was like an hour. I was like, well, you know, I don't know if it's just because I'm old and jaded and very cynical, or I've just been burnt, I think, so many times that when people were like, this isn't a good game, I just didn't care. And what probably helps is the fact that Dead Space is coming very soon.
Right.
Resident Evil 4 is also on its way, so as a survival horror fan, or just a horror fan in general, I have some lifelines, you know. So,
yeah, and you still had Signalis to play as well, right?
Let's not go into Signalis just yet. So yeah, I was just like, well, you know, that's gaming, baby. Sometimes something seems cool and it's a miss.
Yeah, and like I thought it looked great, and then but like 2 or 3 weeks before it came out, I don't know, I just had like a sort of gut feeling saying I think this game might end up being really bad. And
yeah, you did say that.
And yeah, and then the reviews dropped, and I followed a similar course to you. It was like, oh, this game is bad. Whatever. Dead Space is out in like a month, and that game will be good. And we didn't buy it or play it.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like 2 days later, I don't know why, I sent some emails, and we got a code for it for the PS5. Yeah. Partially, you know, the PC version also at launch was completely unplayable, so that sort of like, I don't know. PS5. I didn't even think about console versions, but then I don't know. It was, you know, there was something, I don't know, some dark presence calling me, and I sent an email and we got codes, and then I played it. Like
you did.
I played it launch week.
Yeah.
I think I played it like Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
The funny thing is we got a code, basically. We got a code each, the way we do it. We both had access, and I still did not play it, even though I had access to the game for free.
Yeah.
I really put my foot down. I was like, I'm getting old, man. I'm not going to play games just for the sake of playing them.
Yeah.
Even though I have access to them. If it's a bad game, I don't want in. But it was honestly you who convinced me, mostly through like wanting to drag me down into hell. But you had some mixed opinions. You let us know in the Discord, and you made it sound not all bad, and it was enough to eventually get me on board. But you might as well start and keep going because you did get into this. I think you beat the game before I started it, right?
Oh yeah, by like a week, I think.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And we should specify something. I think fairly substantial happened between when I played it and you played it. They put out a really big patch. I think it was about 2 weeks after launch. It was like, I think it was quite literally like the day before you started playing it. And
let's go.
They never released patch notes for this patch, but they just sort of tweeted like, we've changed a lot of the combat things and made tweaks to here and there. And it's only through basically browsing like Reddit comparisons and things like that where it's become apparent that the patched version of the game that you played is actually fairly importantly different from the version that I played and the version that was reviewed at launch. I mean, it's still the exact same game, of course, but there are a lot of small but significant changes to things like healing speed, turning radius, weapon swapping, one-hit kills, boss balance. The list is long, and that will affect things, I think, to a degree.
Yeah, okay.
Because, like, there's a mini-boss that, when I played it, if you got hit by it at all, you instantly died. And after the patch, you could take 2 hits from it and that's a big deal. That's a big difference. So things like that, yeah. So keep that in mind, I would say, across the chat. So anyways, yes.
Jameson played pre-patch, I played post-patch.
Yes. Like, they made it so that, as a good example, the healing mid-combat was impossible when I played it because the animation took 8 seconds. And the healing post-patch is like 2.5 seconds long and looks janky because I'm pretty sure they just hit like 2.5x speed modifier applied to it. And but like, that's the difference between I can heal in combat and I cannot heal in combat. Stuff like that. It adds up. But yes, I played through all of the Callisto Protocol weirdly quickly. I mean, it's not a long game, first of all. They said like 14 hours pre-release. I beat it in 6 hours.
I think I was 8.
I was very thorough. I thought I might have missed huge areas, but
Can you be thorough in this game?
Yeah. I mean, as thorough as you can in basically a hallway shooter with little spokes that go off it.
Yeah.
But in the sense that, like, did I miss a bunch of little paths? No, because I think I wrote it down. Oh yeah. I only missed 5 collectibles in the entire game. So, like, I explored.
There was collectibles?
Well, the audio logs are the collectibles.
Oh, okay.
So, like, that's just my judge of, okay, yeah, I explored the map pretty thoroughly, or the game pretty thoroughly.
When did you check those trophies? Because I played on your account, remember?
I checked them, like, the night I beat it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I was very thorough, and I beat the game in 6 hours. It was if I hadn't paused to write a long tirade at one point, it probably would have been 5 hours and 55 minutes or so. But I played it through in like 3 sittings, and I don't think Callisto Protocol is good. In fact, I think it's mostly a giant pile of shit. But I played it all. And I didn't hate it, I don't think. Yeah. And I don't know. It's a weird thing to play through a whole game and think it's pretty much from start to finish the most unimaginative and uncreative thing I've played in a decade. But still kind of have something to it that I enjoy, but also hate it, and it's sort of a weird thing.
I I quite like the Callisto Protocol. I had a really fun time with this game. But not because it's good.
Right.
This game is quite crappy, I would say.
Yes.
It's really quite crappy. I'm obviously talking from the perspective of post-patch.
Yeah.
Which, if people haven't played the game by now, that would be their experience as well.
For sure.
And you will either be into the strange decisions made in this game, or you will not.
Yeah.
I would say I liked it from, I don't want to say an ironic point of view, because it wasn't ironic, it was more fascinating.
Yes.
This game to me feels like an AI generator tried to make a Dead Space game.
Yeah.
There's so many aspects of this game that are really bizarre. The combat being the first thing that stands out. I mean, we're obviously very late to the party, and I'm sure this was a very viewed game when it comes to reviews, because, when anything's negative and popular, people kind of seek these opinions out. So people have probably seen the very strange, like, Nintendo Punch-Out-like combat. But when I saw the reviews, I didn't really realize how easy the combat was and how almost untouchable you could become once you learned just to hold the left stick left and then right afterwards. You basically can become invincible in this game and never be touched unless you are mobbed. When you are mobbed, it can kind of fall apart. But yeah, the game is very easy. In a way which I found very bizarre for a survival horror game.
Yeah.
Because it's called survival horror. Survival.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be hard to survive in a survival horror game. And maybe you could say this is an action game and not a survival horror game, but I feel like when you really advertise and market and pitch your game as like a Dead Space, not successor, but like an inspired thing, not spin-off, but you know what I mean. It's an homage kind of to Dead Space.
Spiritual successor or whatever,
There are expectations, at least to be in the same genre as Dead Space. And there's just no, like, survival-ing in this game until, for me, it was a certain boss near the end, which we'll get to in another little talk.
It's the least tense game I've maybe ever played, actually. Like, it's like playing a Nintendo game. But because for different reasons from what you said, but keep going.
Because in survival horror, usually there is a limited amount of resources. Your resources is the thing you are trying to be scarce with, you are really searching for. But Callisto, until the very end, where bullets actually do start to help, for the majority of Callisto, you only really need a big spiky electric baton, your big stick, and you can kind of kill everything.
Mm-hmm.
You're really powerful in this game for like 75% of it, and I thought it was kind of fun to just plod around a corridor and dip, dash, and dodge every attack and crush an enemy's head. Because I think the animations in this game are really well done. It's really visceral and hard-hitting. The game actually has some quite good dual sense, whatever you want to call it. What's the...
the haptic. Was it the haptic?
The haptic.
Like crunchy controller or trigger pulls.
Like the R2 button has like the resistance. On PS5, it actually felt like quite satisfying and fun. Everything I liked about this game comes with like an asterisk of it just being really weird. Like the combat I quite liked, but it's just like what? Why is this
thinking?
How did this happen? How is this the combat in a survival horror game? It feels like, I don't know what it feels like. This is kind of why I enjoyed playing Callisto, because it's like an enigma. It's such a bizarre product. That's why I said it felt like it was made by a computer or an AI, because I just don't understand the humans who would make these conscious design decisions. Because why would you make a survival horror game about hitting enemies with a stick and you can dodge every attack almost flawlessly until like the last quarter of a game? That means you don't have to really look for ammo and you can't really die.
Yeah. So I think I'm completely with you in the fact that like a definite major part of what I enjoyed about this game is the the sort of like almost academic fascination with it. Of just like every step of the way, there are like 1,000 different moments in this game where I'm like, what? Like what what year is it? Who made this? This is so bizarre. And we'll sort of stumble through those as we go. But like, I wanted to jump in for the combat.
Yeah.
Pre-patch, you would probably notice in the launch reviews that there were a lot of people saying the dodging was very difficult.
Yeah.
Because it didn't fucking work.
Yeah, so I heard that exact line that it didn't work, which I'm interested about because it almost worked too well for me.
Right.
I could basically not be hit. Like, I don't know if you were watching my stream when I was in that room with 1,000 enemies, and I basically was untouchable.
Yeah, so that was interesting to watch because that was like really where I was realizing, wow, they did tweak and improve, maybe even detrimentally so.
Maybe, I don't know, yeah, maybe.
The dodging stuff, because when I played it, might be in a bit of exaggeration, but this is how it felt. It felt like about half of the time that I was dodging, I was failing. It would just not work. And for people that haven't played it, the dodging is, like Joe said, Nintendo Punch-Out brain dead simple. You literally just have to hold left or right. It does not matter what direction the enemy is attacking from.
No timing.
And there's no timing. You just hold left, and then the enemy swings at you, and it misses, and you're fine. And then you have to just flip the stick to the opposite side that you were just pushing, and do that, and it swings and misses, and you just repeat that over and over again. Left, right, left, right, left, right. Yeah. There's no timing.
You basically auto-dodge, basically. What you do in the post-patch, anyway.
Yeah, it's basically like the entire combat system is an unfailable QuickTime event that doesn't have a button prompt on the screen, basically. But pre-patch, about half the time it felt like it just wouldn't work, no matter what. Like, I would be holding left, and nothing happened. And
that would be annoying, yeah.
Let me tell you, that was really annoying. Yes,
that does sound annoying.
It was profoundly obnoxious, and that was why. So what I ended up doing was, like, within the first 45 minutes, basically abandoned the dodge mechanic. So I think I played this actually rather differently from you, because I just gave up on the dodging because it was so unreliable and was so frustrating that I just spec'd fully into just kill everything with my gun and my stasis ability. What's it called in this? I don't know. Stasis from Dead Space.
Telekinesis or something.
Telekinesis, whatever it is. And but even in doing that, I felt exactly the same you felt, which is that it's hilariously easy and there's no tension at all. Except I was playing it by picking every enemy up, throwing them into the convenient spike walls that are in literally every single square inch of the game because it's a game from 2003, and or just shooting them with my pistol, which was fully upgraded within like 90 minutes of starting the game. And ammo was never a problem because I wasn't spending my upgrades on anything else. I upgraded, like, the melee upgrade tree is long, right? I think it's like 3 spikes, of upgrades. Yeah. Pistol is just like 4 upgrades. TK is like 8 upgrades. And then for the entire back half of the game, I just had like $5,000 that I would just spend on ammo. And so it, my path through it was definitely different combat-wise from you, but the result was exactly the same. There was no tension, there was no survival, there was no resources. I barely died outside of like the boss fight or mini boss fight, or being swarmed by 15 enemies in early encounters. And aside from that, it was just like the least tense survival horror game I've ever played, in a way that was hilarious at times. Because
it's very odd. There's so many little oddities as well. There's a move in the combat where you will like whack an enemy with the stick, and then you can do like this quick draw pistol thing.
Right.
And it just every time it looks so weird.
Because there's no animation frames for it.
The pistol just appears and just explodes their head, and then you're back to the stick.
It's so bizarre.
I kind of thought it was like cool, and it felt like, again, satisfying and punchy. But this is a common theme with Callisto, where every compliment I have is just like, again, it's just like so odd and weird.
Yeah.
And the game looks incredible.
Oh, yeah.
And that actually like adds to the oddity, because the game really feels like an indie developer's first attempt at this genre, but it looks like it was made, like it cost $1 billion. And like that juxtaposition was kind of fascinating to me.
Like, the telekinesis is one of the most fun moments of the game for me. I love the mechanic of picking up enemies and chucking them into spike walls. But it's like they didn't think about any of the areas when it comes to the stasis mechanic. Because anyone with a logical brain will quickly figure out that, I can just chuck an enemy, let's call it out of bounds. You'll be, let's say, on an elevated
like
walkway.
A catwalk or whatever, yeah.
A catwalk, exactly. And you'll see, like, well, what's going to happen if I pick up an enemy and drop it down here? Because any person would think that, because, we've played games like this before. We've used gravity guns for years, and it's a very quick and easy way to dispose of an enemy. But it's almost like the game didn't think you would ever try to telekinesis someone outside of a spike wall, because there's not like an animation or like a death sound for when you drop an enemy in like half the locations. They just vanish without a trace and without a noise. And it's almost like this awkward silence where you're wondering, like, are they coming back? Like, what just happened there? I just, like, dropped them 2 feet and they're just gone from existence. It's like, the game doesn't really work.
No, yeah.
It's such a strange thing. But it just made me laugh all the way through. And because it's not difficult, at least for post-patch, it wasn't difficult. It's, like, hard to get angry at it, at least for me. Because I was just kind of, like, making fun of it, but also, like, non-ironically actually quite having a good time for a lot of it. It was a very strange experience.
Yeah. Every time I clicked on your stream, you were doing a specific Joe voice, which is like, I'm taking the piss out of this in a way. And it's a little bit of that right there. And I was doing the same thing in my head while I was playing it. Like, every time there's a jump scare in the game, it's like, ooh, you did a jump scare. Oh, that was cute. It wasn't scary at all. Look at you doing a little jump scare. Oh, no, you're going to send 5 enemies at me. What am I going to do? Oh, I'm picking them up and throwing them into the spike wall. Ooh, it's just like that the entire time.
It did like one of those, a shadowy figure runs past a corridor that you're coming up on. But you can clearly see it's just like one of the regular enemies which you fought like 1,000 of. And like, why would I be scared of one generic enemy running past a corridor?
Yeah, like there's literally
10 of those.
There's one enemy in the game, basically. And
yeah.
Oh, God, yeah. There's something about it that is like almost adorable in how pathetic it is.
It's like schlocky and endearing at times. It doesn't look like it should be endearing because it looks really good at times, like really, really good.
Yes, yeah. But it's just
this must have been like one of the most perplexing games to review as a day one reviewer without any like review notes.
Yeah.
But for me, I had given it some time, I had read opinions, and I went in with low expectations. And because I went in just post-patch, the low expectations, the low threat of the game, which means I wasn't dying and repeating stuff and getting frustrated. Yeah, it just ended in this like strange concoction of novelty, schlockism, and just like making fun of it, and sometimes having like non-ironic fun with it.
Yeah, I don't know how much fun I had with it, but it wasn't... It doesn't help that the last like 90 minutes of the game pre-patch was utterly terrible.
Yeah.
But there were 2 revelations, or there's one revelation important that I found was important for this and Signalis, is that I am definitely a sucker for survival horror, whatever that means. Regardless of the quality, there's just something satisfying to me about doing the exploration, managing the resources, getting some upgrades, and progressing forward. And in the case of Callisto, it's also like there's not enough space horror. There's almost no space horror. And there's just a certain element of that combined, like space horror combined with survival horror that's like, I love this. This is like it's like peak comfort food in a way. Except in Callisto's case, the entire thing is terrible. And so there's this weird, like, I like this loop. The loop is not good in this game, but it's fun, sort of. And I'm enjoying how completely easy and unscary and unimaginative and basic and old this game is in a weird way.
It does have like a early 360 era like flow to it.
Yeah, oh yeah. This game feels like a game from 2000, like from a launch Xbox 360 game.
Yeah.
Or like just after Gears of War 1 came out, there was this, wave of games that honestly lasted most of the 360 gen, but that early wave of like, I'd have to go and look through old games to remember what some of the titles were, but this influx of really basic third-person action games, third-person shooters, where you're just basically pushing the left stick forward the entire game. There's no exploration. There's nothing. It's so simple. It's so basic that but the fact that it came out in almost 2023 is what is so fascinating about it, because it's like I think we've said it about a few games. Where it's like blank but 0.5. It's like Dead Space 0.5. This is like Dead Space version 0.1, basically.
Yeah.
And Dead Space 1 came out in 2008. And it's just wild to play through this thing and think like... It's impossible to not think about Dead Space the entire time because of how utterly, like, shamelessly Dead Space it is. To the point of, like... I almost wonder about, the legality and copyright and things like this, even though none of that exists for... We put a health thing on the guy's back. We made the HUD part of the game world, stuff like that. But, like, it is so one-to-one Dead Space. But the fact that it's so much less than the game that came out 13 years ago it was just fascinating all the way through. And every step of the way, I was just like, what is this game?
I think there is too much expectations put on a studio when it's one of those... An ex-dev at this company who worked on this left and made their own company. Here we go.
Yeah.
It's like, not two people, they don't make a good game.
No.
Maybe some auteurs, maybe some creative directors can really pull their weight. But, it's a group effort, and you need a lot of people to come together to make a good thing. So people should maybe stop hyping up stuff because one human being worked on a game a while ago and is now on this project, if you know what I mean.
I think, though, I completely agree, but I think the case with this was somewhat unique in the fact that, like, A, it's the creative director of Dead Space, right? Okay, great. But B, it's how shamelessly it's copying Dead Space that it's impossible to not... And how much it's leaning...
It's like they asked for it.
Oh, yeah, they completely asked for it. Like, every step of the way with the game and the marketing, they're like, hey, a couple of us that worked on this game made Dead Space 1, or rather,
That's what makes it so weird.
And so it's impossible for them to not be just compared endlessly to Dead Space 1, because their entire crutch is, hey, it's Dead Space, we brought it back.
Yeah,
and
I'm not blaming the people for making these presumptions. I'm saying that this should be a lesson going forward.
Oh, yeah. Because this was really... Unless I'm forgetting some, this feels like really the first major one of these where it's like, hey, here's a couple of major people that left and have started their own thing, and we have a lot of these studios that have formed and are making games that'll come out over the next 2 years, so it'll be interesting to see where they go. But the Callisto Protocol is definitely not the most impressive debut.
How did they, like, make this as a version of Dead Space? It's so crazy, man.
I don't know. It's like... You know what it almost feels like? It almost feels like a mobile game of Dead Space. Like, I could almost see if they brought the graphics down to, like, nothing, I can see the touch controls, from like
screen,
from like the 2010 era of iPhone action games when it was like Infinity Blade and things like that. Like, swipe left, swipe right, swipe left.
It is like Infinity Blade. Oh my god, it is, yeah.
And you're like, is this really a AAA, like, modern survival horror game coming out on the PlayStation 5? No, it's like a mobile game from a decade ago in so many ways. In how like comically basic it is, and how like around every corner there's just another thing of like, oh, look at you, this is adorable. Oh my god, you put the giant spinning death garburator in this hallway. Look at you, a little pat on the head, and then you round a corner and it's like, oh, there's 50 exploding barrels on the ground. I wonder what could possibly happen next, and it just
I liked both of those scenes.
Oh god.
I had fun, man. I like this game. I don't respect it, but I like it.
Yeah. It
It's going to work for some people, and it's not going to work for other people.
Yes, yeah.
You've got to have a certain flavor. Maybe you have to be a certain age as well, because it's almost a little nostalgic of, again, older, crappier games from 2 to 3 generations ago. And yeah, if you enjoy schlock and things that are so bad it's good, then Callisto for me worked in that regard. This is like a shocky cult classic to me. I don't know if the gaming community is going to agree with me over time. Maybe this will be like a Napoleon Dynamite, where in 5 years people will be like, I told you it was a good game. I don't know if I see that happening, but we'll see.
No, I think Callisto is... Well, it's when I played it, it's like an objectively bad game that has an aspect of fun to experiencing it. I think it's less of a terrible game now, but it is still like the most profoundly uninspired thing I've played in a very long time.
Some of the design decisions I would call it inspired in a way where I don't understand why a human would come up with them.
Sure. Yeah.
They're very strange.
The combat stuff is very odd.
Yeah.
But like there's just like it is so shockingly linear. There are so many little like crawl through, shimmy through things. There's so much like simplicity to it.
Game loves a shimmy. I've never shimmied so much ever in a game.
No, it's for a game that is completely linear. You know, I thought the shimmies were for like transitioning large zones, but this is like shimmy through a hallway to get to a smaller hallway, and then it's like, and then shimmy out of that hallway to get to a vent.
It became a running joke when I was playing the game. Like, oof, it's been 5 minutes without a shimmy, and I really need my fix.
Yeah.
And the game would always give me my fix.
And there is a segment that I did document in great detail where you, for about 30 minutes straight, do nothing, almost nothing, but shimmy, crawl, shimmy, crawl, shimmy, crawl. And it just keeps going to the point that I was like in hysterical laughter. You go for like almost 30 minutes and you fight maybe 3 enemies, and everything else is just shimmy, crawl, backtrack through the shimmying and crawling. And it was just, it's like, what do we do?
There's multiple parts of this game which feel like a joke and on the nose.
Yeah, except it's definitely not a joke, but it does feel like a joke.
I don't know. Maybe what if it is a joke? What if it is a joke?
The one that I do think is a joke and is not funny is very near the very end of the game, where you open 3 chests in a row and get one of those little fucking things jumping out on you. Like, okay, hilarious. But I know what you mean, because like
when it repeats the boss 4 times at the end, I thought that was a joke, because I was like, first of all, I don't know, is this a different boss or is it the same boss that came back? I could not figure it out.
I think it's just an enemy type.
Right, well, it's a strange that it mutated to look like the exact same character model. That's a bit odd.
Yeah, well, you know, every zombie in the game looks exactly the same. So.
Yeah, but the third time you fight it in this tiny little room and they lock it behind you, and I was like, this is ridiculous. And then you fight it again when you have no ammo, and I was like, this has to be a parody, man. They're fucking with me. They're actually fucking with me.
I know, that's what's interesting about the game, is that that is, I think, actually the perfect way to describe it for me, is the entire thing feels like a parody of survival horror, except it's not. It is trying to be serious about it, and I think a lot of it is just there because it's like, I don't know, the mini boss stuff feels like they just, you know, are padding the runtime and have nothing, but like, I know, as I'm saying these things, I'm like, how do you make this game and not play it through and be like, this is a joke. This game is a joke game, right? And they're like, no, this is 100% serious. Like, I want to be in the rooms where people are justifying these things to each other, because like, it doesn't make sense.
That one room, like the cacophony of enemies that kept spawning, I thought that was a joke.
Right.
I was laughing my ass off because I was like, there's so many enemies here, the PS5 is chugging. It can't handle this.
Yeah, and I killed every enemy in that room because the second I walked in there, they aggroed on me, because the stealth never, there's like an hour-long stealth section in the game, and I never once maintained stealth at all. So I walked into that room, and the first guy there, after you wall shimmy, aggroes on me, and I have to shoot him, and, you know, that just daisy chains, like, everyone aggroing me, right, as you progress through.
Oh, yeah.
And so I killed every enemy in that room, and it took, like, 15 minutes of just being like, and they just keep spawning, and they just keep spawning.
So many of them.
And you're like, this game barely works in one-on-one combat. I'm now fighting 25 enemies. What is happening?
Yeah, that was kind of an amazing moment, I will say.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. I was
just stunned with like my jaw open, like, holy shit, I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah, and
how did they do this?
Right after that section, there's you turn on some generators right in a dark room, and you flip a switch and walk away, and an enemy spawns behind you, right in front of a spike wall.
Yeah.
And you just pick him up and throw him into the spike wall and turn around and walk away. And then it spawns an enemy again in the same spot, and you do the same thing, and you turn around and walk away. And it spawns an enemy again in the same spot, and you turn around and do the same thing and walk away. And it happens 3 times in a row, and I'm like, and I'm laughing by the end, because I'm like, this is so predictable. Like, I know exactly what's coming. Yeah. Is this, am I supposed to be laughing? I really don't think so, but it's so weird to play a game where the whole time you're like, what is this?
But it is continuously funny all the time.
I know.
They must have played this game, right?
In like new and exciting ways all the way through. The game is funny.
There was something so endlessly hilarious about like a huge looming threat coming into the room and just being like, pick it up, splash into the wall, and doing it over and over again. Like, it's funny every single time. And then there's that story section where you're with the girl from The Boys.
Yeah.
And all you're doing for 3 hours is falling down a hole. Then you find her again. Then you fall down another hole.
Yeah,
and all you're doing is falling down a hole every time you're with her. And I'm like, this has to be a joke.
Yeah, it really makes you think.
The game's actually really funny. I don't know if it's trying to be funny, but I was laughing all the way through this game.
Me too. Yeah, and I think
maybe not at the 4th boss when it repeated itself, but
yeah, well that I was fine
funny
for
everyone else except for me.
I was fine for that because I had so much ammo, but I was the same way. It was like, really, we're gonna. Like, I knew it was going to happen 3 times. After it happens a second time, you're like, okay, it's going to happen a 3rd time. But the 4th time, like, that's what makes a joke funny, right? Is doing something 3 times is not funny. Doing something twice could be funny, because you don't pay off with the 3rd. Doing it 4 times is, like, pure excess to the point of, like, they're pointing at itself and laughing, right? Yeah. And I think you said it just a few seconds ago. This, going by the, like, the tried and true definition that someone like Red Letter Media uses for the definition of a truly great bad B movie is like, is this a joke? I can't tell. Are they serious? I can't tell.
Yeah.
And that's how this game really does feel from start to finish.
It does, yeah.
It's like,
it's a good way of putting it.
Is this a parody game? No, I don't think so. I think it's honest. But why was I laughing for 7 hours straight?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so bizarre and fascinating.
It is. I recommend the Callisto Protocol. I recommend it.
I don't think it's worth full price.
$70. No,
I would barely say it's worth $20. Obviously, we got it for free.
Yeah.
If I had paid $20 for it, I would feel fine.
This, for me, is like a major Steam sale game. Like, put it on your wish list, and I say go for it.
Yeah.
Get a couple of beers. I would play this, like, alongside other friends. Because, you know, it is, like, it's a good-looking game. There's some real good spectacle to some of the deaths and the violent and the executions. Yeah, I just think this game is schlocky. I think it's so bad it's good. I think it's funny. Like Jemison said, maybe not intentionally. And I think that is what entertainment is. Is it good? No, this is not a good game.
No.
But is it fun? Potentially, yes, depending on who you are. And I was the right person for it, apparently, because I had a good time. Maybe not in the way they wanted me to, but whatever.
Yeah, I agree, and that's weird, because I really disliked my last, like, 2 hours with the game. Like, really, I really fucking hated it. And when it was over, I was like, oh, thank God. But, I mean, I beat it almost a month ago at this point. Of this recording, and by the time the video hits, probably pretty much a month ago. And it has stuck in my mind more than even something like God of War, which I beat like 2 weeks earlier. Like it's just so bizarre, and in a way that like perplexes completely.
Maybe like post God of War, it was quite nice because God of War was like a major AAA product, a people pleaser, and you know I had a great time with God of War, most of it anyway. But it was definitely like not surprising in a lot of ways because you can't take risks with big AAA games. and the Callisto Protocol looked like one of those, production-wise. And it was the most bizarre thing I've played in years. And that was something. That was truly something.
Yeah, it's definitely memorable.
It is.
In its own very weird way.
Yeah. To me, it has like almost some of the Resident Evil schlockness. But I feel like a lot of people played it pre-patch where it was like more objectively bad. I kind of wish it came out with the patch that I played because I feel like it would have maybe been a cult classic. But I feel like its pre-patch state might have like erased that possibility.
I think something like Resident Evil though does such a better job of like knowingly embracing the schlockiness.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, whereas this game, again, it really feels like it's being very serious all the way through.
I know, Resident Evil 5 and 6 are strange games. They kind of take themselves weirdly seriously.
That's yes, yeah. I mean, I'm sort of going on the newer, RE7, RE8, RE2, RE3 remake stuff.
Yeah.
It's self-serious, but it also very clearly knows it's real stupid.
Yeah, but they're like 11 games in. That's not fair.
No, for sure. But there is an element of schlock to this that is very inherent and enjoyable, but it definitely doesn't feel like they did it intentionally, and that's what makes it even more interesting, honestly, is because it like the final boss
relevant, though, in the end of the day?
No, I don't think it is. I think it just you have to qualify the schlock a little bit by.
We're not objective reviewers here. We're not giving scores.
No, God, no. Yeah,
because it would be low.
oh yeah.
Yeah, it would be low.
It's 6 hours, there's no replay value, the combat's not good, the environments are pretty, but also there's like 90% of it is just a metal corridor with nothing interesting happening. There's no side content, there's no story, the characters are bad, the upgrades are whatever. The mini bosses are terrible, the final boss is terrible. Like, there's a big list of this is all bad, but there's a giant but at the end of all of it, and I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah. I'm not too sure if the last boss even hit me in this game.
Yeah, I died. I almost gave up and said no. What was we were talking about? What was it? The sunk cost fallacy? Is that yeah. I definitely had that majorly at the end of this game where I'm like, what am I doing? What the fuck am I doing? And I turned the game off and turned my PlayStation off and went into my office and was like, I'm done. I'm not beating this final boss. I've been on him for like 15 minutes. He fucking sucks. Why do I care? Why do I need to beat this game? I'm not going to beat it. And 20 minutes later I went and beat it. And
aren't you glad you did?
And and you know what? Maybe I am glad I did, because the final story stinger is so hilariously bad that, again, it feels like a joke. It feels like a joke.
I hope they make a Callisto Protocol 2.
So do I.
I hope they make another one. I'd be so excited if they made that one. Oh, but let's go.
I'm also glad that I played it in the context of the Dead Space remake is out in like 3 weeks. Because I feel like that's going to make it will make the Dead Space remake probably even more impactful than it already was looking to be.
Because Dead Space EA team actually made Callisto Protocol when it was a undercover marketing ploy. Guerrilla warfare.
We need to revive Dead Space. How do we do it? Well, we need to remake the game, but how do we get people excited about a remake of an old game? Well, we got to put something else out that's a lot like it, but terrible, so that it makes our game look even better than it already is.
Void of all the things that are Dead Space, even though it's labeled as a Dead Space spiritual successor.
Yeah, it might be the most brilliant marketing move in history.
Yeah,
like EA calls up the PUBG people and is like, "Why don't you fund this Callisto Protocol game?"
Yeah, they would do it.
We'll give you a little extra payback, and they'd be like, "Yeah, sure, man. We got PUBG Mobile money. Fuck it. What's $100 million on a joke?"
Exactly. It was a short game. It probably wasn't that expensive.
I don't know. They spent like 3 years making it. I don't know. I mean, there was a global pandemic in the middle, but I also I so wish it had included the PUBG lore stuff, just because I feel like that's like an extra layer of bizarreness that would have enhanced.
I don't know what that means, but yeah, sure.
I don't know either. I have no idea either, but that would have been funny. It doesn't matter regardless, but you know.
I think there's just only one thing left I want to mention, and this game has like the worst sense of space I've experienced in a while, where I just had no idea where the fuck I was ever. Because you spawn in a prison.
Yeah.
And I had like no grasp of the scale of this facility I was in.
Yeah, there's never like an exterior establisher shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of bizarre moments in the game. You like leave the facility and then you walk and even drive in a truck at one point.
Right.
And then the weirdest scene of all is where there's like an explosion or in like a climactic cutscene and you like ODST paraglide downwards for like 1.5 minutes straight.
Yeah, it's like a mile-long tower that you're falling.
And I'm like, wait, am I at the top of a skyscraper? Wait, am I at the core of the Earth? Where am I? I just never had any idea like where I was, or was I in a prison? Was I in a massive sci-fi cyberpunk city? I just didn't know where I was at any time. But again, it just all made for this like weird, trippy, bizarre, unknowable experience. And yeah, I thought the ride was worth it.
The entire setting of the game is just like The Shining and the Overlook Hotel.
Yeah.
So it's like non-Euclidean, impossible environment that just exists to
This is a Kubrick masterpiece, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, like if you told me the entire game was set on like a city planet, like Coruscant or something, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I have no idea. Like you walk through like 15 miles of tunnels.
Yeah.
And then go up a 4-mile-long tower and go for like a 10-minute drive and explore crashed ships, and it's all the prison, I'm pretty sure.
A big prison. Okay,
I'm
yeah,
not
but
sure.
I guess
Yeah, maybe, you know what I mean?
Moon, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. There are so many things we like, so many small things that, you know, could have been brought up here, but I think that the discussion is just like, it's good. We're done because it's like, this is the core of the game. Like, you know, we could go into details about why the mini-boss sucks, or like why they're so, oh my god, even the fucking telekinesis thing, which is, again, it's exactly Dead Space, including the health meter on your neck, except you can't read the health meter because it's on his neck, and his neck bends, and his jumpsuit covers the fucking meter. So you never, at any point in the game, have any clue how much TK you have left.
Yeah.
And like, that is there's just stuff like that in every square inch of the game where you're like, who made this? Did you ever play test this ever? It's so bizarre.
And there's so many moments in the game where you're constantly cutting off like access cards from the back of people's necks over and over and over again. It's like, what? Why are you why am I doing this over and over and over? How many levels of access are there in this place? Like 75 of them?
Yeah.
It's so strange.
It's
one of those fun experiences where it's like a movie you would play with your friends where you're pointing at the screen going, wait, why is this character doing this?
Yes.
It's one of those experiences for like 6 hours straight.
Like, if we had played this in the same room together, we would be like screaming, wait, what, at the TV every 30 seconds. And I was doing that on my own, basically. I
think those experiences are fun.
Yes. I actually wish I had gotten to experience it with someone like yourself, you know, because I know it. But even in doing it solo, it is just like, it is fascinating to just be playing this thing and just constantly thinking like, wait, what?
I'd say, get this game and play it with like your university dorm room.
Yeah.
Get some beers in and play it with some buds. Not that long, and it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I weirdly agree.
Yeah.
And So there we go. We did it. We did a review roundup just in time for the new year to be what? I don't know.
Wow. It's 2023.
Yeah.
And we're still talking about God of War Ragnarok. After already won Best Narrative at the Game Awards.
Oh my god, the best thing happens at the end of the God of War chat. We were like bitching about everything being so depressing, and then I'm like, where's Kojima? Give us weird Kojima shit, and then we're like, oh, the Game Awards are coming up soon, and you know what? We got what we wanted.
We got Kojima shit.
Thank
God.
God.
a little late to this one, but we were late to get into Callisto, and then the holidays happened, and
Callisto is actually to blame for the whole thing because we were just going to do God of War.
Yeah,
and then Callisto was a strange thing.
Yeah, I was very close to just recording a little outro for God of War and putting up God of War as a solo video but then we ended up playing Callisto, and I'm glad we talked about it because it's one of the more unique experiences in a game in a long time. So that's that's something. That's something. We will be having the best of 2022. That'll be the next long chat. That should be actually pretty soon. And then we're gonna try to be better about doing review chats this year. A little more frequently, a little more relevantly, I think.
Yeah, that would be nice.
2022 was our worst year for review roundups because we did 2, and both of them we did 1 technically in 2022.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we did.
And it came out in June, and it was reviewing games from February. So
yeah. Technically, this one's better. This one's more prompt.
It is. You're right. Yeah. I mean,
November games in January.
And Callisto came out in December, so it's less basically a 1 month turnaround. So
Oh, nice.
We're getting there. But we'll
be better. Maybe
we will try to be at the very least. There's certainly lots of games to chat about, at least in the next couple of months. We've got Dead Space and Harry Potter and Resident Evil and video games. They're slowly coming back to life. Maybe they might not be good, but there will be. There will be video games. It seems like
there will be video games.
Yeah. I think that's it.
That's it. Thanks for listening, guys. And we will see you for our top 10 of 2022 coming kind of soon.
Bye.
Bye.